We know Amos is joining us tonight. Good evening, Bob.
Hello.
And Mickey won't be. She had a commitment tonight. I think everybody saw that. And Deb should be joining us tonight.
Good evening.
Well, there are three of us, so we could wait a couple minutes.
Or you could get started. The first couple are signs.
Yep, good point. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the Monday, June 12th, 2023 regular meeting of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board. We have some remote meeting procedure notes. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on eCat. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application at zoom.us and create an account or use one of the call-in numbers listed on the agenda. You will need the webinar ID to join by phone only. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meetings operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendee, meaning they are muted and with no video feed on them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you're joining by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. All right, we'll do a roll call. Peter Deshane, present.
Robert Stetson, present.
Here.
Deborah Balsar, present.
Okay. The first item, we have a internally illuminated sign, 15 Robert Drive, Comparian Insurance Agency.
Suzanne, do we here we go.
Nicole Evans.
Thank you.
Oh. Hi, Nicole.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just please
Okay, perfect.
state your name and your address, please.
My name is Nicole Evans. My address is 65 Cedarwood Road in Stoughton, Mass. And I am representing Comparian Insurance tonight.
Okay.
So,
do you have anything to show us, or I would like to start off with the sign?
do you guys have an attachment of the signs, or do I need to share my screen?
You need to show your screen.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the first sign that Comparian is proposing is a face replacement measuring 22.5 square feet. Internal illumination, the illumination is staying the same as the present sign. The second illuminated sign that they are proposing is a wall sign measuring 61 square feet. Again, internally illuminated facelit channel letters, 61 square feet. Aside from those two illuminated signs, they are proposing additional signs like rebranding and reskinning of the awning, as well as window signs for hours.
Yeah. And for any viewers watching, where is this building located?
This is at 15 Robert Drive.
Okay. Could you go back?
Happy to answer.
Yeah, the sign image.
Sure.
So is the background lit up or just the letters?
The background is lit up.
Oh, I can see over to the right, the people on my way. Okay, so it's not channel letters, it's just a,
Nope, the facelit channel letters is the wall sign.
right. Then where's the other sign?
The other sign, this is the wall sign, facelit channel letters, and the other sign is the monument face replacement. I don't know if you can see this, I might need to zoom in and move it.
Okay, so that's like out on the
because-
street where those signs are?
Yep, so this is the current sign up here in the top right corner, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that or no?
Mhm.
Scroll down
Okay.
a little bit. Yeah.
And then they're proposing this one.
Okay, Stephanie, did you have any comments on this?
No, it complies with the zoning
Mhm.
bylaw.
You need to see the wall sign again, I can do that too.
Any of the board members, do you have any comments?
Make a motion to approve the sign, Stetson.
I'll second Balsaric.
All in favor, say aye. Stetson,
Aye.
Balsaric?
Aye.
Nope, I don't have my video here.
Aye.
Oh. Oh yeah, sorry, my audio was cutting out. Thank you, Kevin. All right, motion passes.
Wonderful, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
I appreciate your time.
Okay, we have another internally illuminated sign, 690 Depot Street. Mathnasium, the Math Learning Center, Signorama.
Suzanne, do you know, I
That's
see,
Richard Dooley. Signorama. Do we see him?
no, I have someone from Mathnasium though.
Okay.
And someone, Mr. Chair, someone who has named themselves owner, but if they could indicate who they are, so I might know. They're part of this discussion.
Okay, Mathnasium of Hanover, are you here?
Hi, yes, I am. Hi, how are you?
Oh, good, thank you. How are you? Okay,
Yes,
please, just please state your name and address for the record.
I am with Magnesium Hanover and now Eastern Depot Street. Eastern.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to present your sign to us?
Mr. Dudley was due to be here. He did forward over the link to me. I mean, I have the drawings for the sign. I've never attended one of those meetings. I'm not sure where to start, but if you want to give me just a few minutes, I can pull up the markup. The sign
Yeah,
and
just
share
so
something.
we and anyone watching has something to look at while we talk about it, please.
Okay, sure, just a moment. I need to find it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if it's easier or faster, I could share my screen.
Yes, please do.
Mr. Chair, did you get her name?
No, I couldn't hear much of the audio. I wasn't sure if it was my problem that I just had when Amos was trying to speak, but. Okay, we can see the screen now, so you could unmute yourself if you like.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Oh, yes, Francine, thank you.
Sure, so the sign that that's a mock-up of the sign that we are to have a code for our location. If you were not aware, we are a franchise, so this has been reviewed and approved by our headquarters office. and our business consultants. So we are hoping to have it placed exactly like that. It's a lit up sign on Raceway. It's what is required on our end. Yeah.
I think it looks good. I don't have any questions. Stephanie, were there any comments?
No,
Board members, any comments on this one?
Stephanie, does this not exceed any of the dimensional requirements for the signage?
no, it shows right underneath here, total
Oh, yes, I see. Yeah.
70
Okay.
square feet. Mhm.
Sorry, I couldn't see that earlier.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Here, oh, we don't see any.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign as presented.
Second, Stetson.
All in favor, Kedem? Yeah, it looked like an aye to me. Balsaric
Aye.
and Stetson.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You all have a great evening.
You too. Goodbye. Now we have a continued public hearing for 366 Center Street, Cedino Estates definitive subdivision 23-299, Pilling Engineering.
And Mr. Chair, if Mr. Pilling could confirm, is Rich Federoff part of this hearing?
I don't know if he was expecting to come or not.
He's up here, so I should,
Oh, you can let him in. I didn't know he was coming or not.
okay.
All right, Mr. Pilling, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Todd Pilling from Pilling Land Surveying, 105 Depot Street, Southeastern.
Thank you. You can go ahead and give us an update or present or.
Sure.
proceed.
So we left it last time that. Sharing the screen. We had a hammerhead cul-de-sac turnaround in here, but we had the circular property line. And the discussion, originally we had a hammerhead property line with it, and it was determined that that didn't meet the definition of frontage by the zoning enforcement officer. So we went to the circular property line. And then the question at the last meeting was whether or not it should be a paved cul-de-sac or the hammerhead, et cetera, et cetera. And the result was, let's pave the cul-de-sac. So what you see here is a cul-de-sac that has a 45-foot pavement radius, and that's the radius that the fire department gave us for their fire truck. And we have a 50-foot property line radius around it. It resulted in, we went from something like 7,000 square feet of asphalt to 11,000 square feet of asphalt. And we pushed the drainage basin over a little bit, made it a little bit bigger. And yeah, it's, I think it's everything that the board wanted from the last time. So thank you.
Stephanie, do you have any comments or updates on this?
I don't, so a couple of things, I mean, Todd mentioned that they have now built the cul-de-sac to comply with what the fire department would like to see, so that they have plenty of turning radius there. One of the comments I had was that previously they were requesting a waiver of the easement at the end of the road that would potentially allow future development to the abutting properties. They removed that waiver request. And I think everything else has been addressed.
We did add in one new waiver at this point in time because Easton's requirement is for a 30-foot radius cul-de-sac, no less than 28 and no more than 30. Well, obviously you can't fit a 45-foot pavement radius in a 30-foot easement, property line. So that we are asking for a waiver to allow a 50-foot radius on the the cul-de-sac.
So do we need the fire department to make another comment, or have they already reviewed this?
They've satisfied the comments from the fire department. And then one of the other things, I think since the last meeting, we asked that they show the proposed limit of work, which has been added to the plan as well.
Yeah, how about the on like the southern edge of the roadway in relation to the property line? What is that, like 10 feet or so, or 15?
Yeah, I think it's like 10, and that's where the grass swale is that's gonna divert the water to the back. There's an existing cart path right now on this Donahue land.
Mhm.
And so obviously we can't interfere with that at all. So
Oh, is that the path that goes back to like behind the Angelus?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't show up very well, but the
kind of that
five,
path access sort of a buffer, at least at this time anyways, right? It's not like that butts up against anyone, an adjacent, like a neighbor's, you know.
correct.
view.
On the property just to the south of that, 370 Center Street is a duplex that was just constructed, I think, last year.
Right, okay. Board members, do you have any?
Question and clarification. On 27. It's written here, environmental impact report. A report has not been provided. No waiver has been requested. Did we get the environmental report? Not clear.
Yeah, it was submitted. I believe Ms. Danielson's report did state that the environmental impact report was received.
Yes, yep.
And basically what it comes down to is we're only adding the one house onto Center Street. So there's no impact on traffic or pedestrians and noise and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like, you know, the way that a lot of our town is kind of built out, maybe, you know, we might probably see more of these under a similar kind of like pattern, but I mean, in this case, you do have the land to the back that could be developed. I mean, I just mean just for a board here to discuss, is this like, you know, we're not like making like a template here for this. We're not really kind of held to any of our prior decisions anyways, as far as new applications, but I don't know if there are other ways we can think about this just to word the decision, just to kind of explain why we think this is a reasonable use in this case.
And I will remind the board that this is Sedano Way is going to be a private way in perpetuity. And so the maintenance of the roadway and the drainage basin will be the sole responsibility of the owner of Lot B. There will be nothing here that is town maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Peter, I think you raised some interesting questions. I mean, obviously with housing, it, you know, in such a crisis, we'd like to see, you know, more uses kind of like this, and perhaps maybe not so much asphalt, but we're stuck with it for now. So I think going forward, you know, maybe that's something that we ought to talk about. I mean, the frontage requirements sort of make it necessary in this instance, but it's an odd solution to create a home back there.
Right.
You know, but so I think you raise a good point.
Right, but just having like paper cul-de-sacs everywhere for the frontages, it doesn't seem like the best. Well, and plus the fire department, right? So.
Right.
Yep.
A lot of towns struggle.
Will that cul-de-sac actually be paved as is shown?
That's the plan. Yes, that's what we're asking for. Because again, the fire truck has to be able to turn around in it.
Amos, we can barely hear you now. Is there a way you can be on the right microphone?
Okay, if you can hear me, question is paving of this cul-de-sac written on the drawing, on the plan?
I missed the question. He said, he said, is the paving of the cul-de-sac, and then I missed the word.
Is it on the plan? It is written, I don't see it.
Oh, it's this light green line coming around. Maybe if I go to the profile sheet, it might show it a little bit better. So you can see the edge of pavement coming around. So the green line is the pavement.
Okay, I see it, I see it.
Right, and just remind us about, kind of give us a little update on that, the revised drainage basin. Can we just see that and explain how deep it is and when it will fill up with water?
Sure. So the basin itself is only approximately 3 feet deep. It got slid back. It was originally more forward when we had the hammerhead, but it was slid back, I think, like 10 or 15 feet. And it doesn't it doesn't really overtop except in the 100-year event. And even then, I think it's doubtful because this is only a 1/4 acre of water going into it. It's pretty good, and the soils out here are pretty decent. So the water table wasn't too bad. It was down like 4 or 5 feet, so it actually worked out pretty well. But the basin itself is only like a couple feet below the actual ground, and we've kind of mounded it up around it to hold it in. So it's pretty simple design, and we got the grass swale running the water into it. So I don't want to use the word LID because it's only a grass swale, but we don't have the curbing and the catch basins and all the rest of the stuff that would require extra maintenance.
Which is essentially LID.
Yeah, but there's no rain gardens involved or no, you know, anything fancy. This is pretty simple technology.
Okay, I don't really have any other comments. And you've been working with us as we ask you to make some changes or come up with new ideas. So, any other board members? Do you have any?
Yeah, I will point out I did add in the roof runoff, the things to infiltrate the roof as the board asked for after the neighbors' concerns about water. So those were also added. And I got them at the 3 corners. I didn't put them by the garage because that's where the septic is and the driveway. So they'll all be routed to the 3 corners.
Cool. Oh, actually, I think we've had, I think one of the neighbors has joined us at the last few meetings.
Yeah, Mr. Magaldi.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. So if we wanted to move on from this point, we would close the hearing and then take a vote if there were a motion to do so. Is that the procedure here?
Yep.
They obviously want us to close the public hearing.
Yes,
Well,
please.
Okay.
What,
Motion to close the public hearing, Stetson.
Kevin, second,
Okay. All in favor, Stetson,
Aye.
Kadam,
aye,
Balsaric,
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Yeah, we can ask a few more questions, but we can't really take any more information, so we can discuss this if we want, or we can move to a vote, whatever you guys think.
I mean, I think they've done everything we've asked for, and you know, I like I said before, I think it's odd. I mean, it's a glorified driveway, and you know, I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I think that's probably for another day, a bigger discussion. But I appreciate you bringing it up, Peter. You know, and I think that's something that we ought to think about moving forward. And if you know, we want to propose some different bylaws, but I think they've done everything we've asked for, and I think it looks fine.
Okay, right. And then when we, write our decision, we can kind of put any wording in there that might kind of help explain why we thought this one, fit the bylaw, and possibly gave access to the land behind it. So,
Unless there's any more comments, I'll make a motion to approve the definitive subdivision. Stetson.
Kevin, second,
okay. All in favor, Balsaric,
Aye.
Kadam,
Kedem, aye.
Stetson,
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Do you want to vote on the waivers?
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
go.
do we need a separate vote on that, Suzanne?
I'd say yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the waivers as well, Stetson?
Kedem, second.
All in favor, Stetson,
Aye.
Kedem,
Kedem, aye.
Balsaric,
Balsaric, aye.
DeShane, aye. Okay. That motion passes as well.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye. Okay. So is 518 Washington Street, that's continued for tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to continue 518 Washington to June 26th.
Yes.
So moved.
Motion to
That's it.
continue. Kedem, second.
Favor, Balsaric,
Aye.
Kedem,
Kedem, aye.
Stetson.
Aye.
Okay, that's done. A&R plan 549 Foundry Street. A&R 23-312 Holmgren Engineering. Hello, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Farrier, Holmgren Engineering. I have for your review tonight an A&R plan at 545 and 549 Foundry Street. And I will attempt to share my screen. All right. So what we have, folks, is two pieces of property. As I said, 545 and 549 Foundry Street. They each of the lots have some extra frontage and area on Foundry Street and South Street. We're looking to basically combine the two existing lots, redivide them into 4 lots, which will create a conforming lot for both the 2 existing houses shown as lots B and C, and create 2 new buildable lots. One at the corner of Foundry and South Street, containing about 15,300 square feet, and then a second lot up at the northern corner of the property on South Street that will contain about 15,500 square feet. So it'll be 2 lots being redivided into 4 lots total. All of the lots meet the frontage and area requirements under your zoning bylaw.
Yeah, could you explain the locus, just for any other viewers that might not be that familiar with this?
Well, it's right on the corner of Foundry and South Street. The existing house, I'm just trying to get the numbers for you. Existing house 549, which is this larger house, has almost 50,000 square feet on its own currently. Existing house 545 has just under 30,000, about 28,000 square feet. So with the existing house, the larger house having a little bit extra area to give, they agreed to deed over this strip of land behind the existing 545 that will give them enough area to pick up an extra buildable lot. So it'll pick up the 2 lots. All of the lots will tie into the town sewer.
And Stephanie, do these meet the frontage and area requirements for this district?
They do.
I was just thinking like, I mean, it's just an A&R, so it's not a lot we can do with it, but just guess you're really only adding one extra driveway to Foundry Street, if that driveway is even there, right?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. DeShane. I didn't mention that, I'm sorry, but yeah, the existing house, the larger house on Foundry Street, they have their driveway out to South Street. So you're right. So the Lot A, the existing house will remain off of South Street. Lot D, we don't have a house design yet, but I mean, I would think of a house with a side entry garage that would come off of South Street. I think if I was building a house there, I would prefer to come off of South Street than to come in and out on Foundry Street. So I would think the driveway may come out onto South Street.
Right, but I mean, I guess if this never gets back to us, it just goes right to the building inspector, then that would be someone else's decision whether that gravel driveway could serve that many homes. Or...
Exactly, correct.
Any other questions, board members?
Make a motion to endorse the A&R plan, Stetson.
Kevin, second.
Was there any public comment, just in case?
Someone, Dale Carister has his hand raised.
Okay, let's let him in.
That's weird. Hold on. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Dale.
Dale Carister,
Your name and
21,
address.
21 South Street. I'm one of the abutters on what would be Lot A. This is the first that the neighborhood found out about. I just found out by looking at the agenda this morning. And Mr. Freya, could you just briefly address what you're currently contemplating with respect to what the setbacks would be for the homes that are contemplated for both Lot A and for Lot D? And also, if you can speak again, just what you anticipate for the location of the anticipated access for each of those lots as well.
I mean, the zoning setback is, the same zoning setback for all the residential zones in town. It's a 15-foot side yard setback. The lot A that's closest to you has 100 feet of frontage. It meets the minimum angle for the side lot line heading in a westerly direction. So by the time you get to the setback, there's probably 95 feet of width. 15 feet on either side would give you room for a 65-foot house, which is about what you would get with a typical colonial with a 2-car garage. So I would assume, we don't have house plans now, and I would figure both lots A and D would be put up for sale, and a builder or somebody will buy them and build their own custom home on the lots, which we don't have at this point. But I would assume the house on Lot A would be a little more than 15 feet from from both side lot lines.
Yeah, but Dale, this isn't like a subdivision, hearing. It's just the A&R is approval not required. That's what the process by which people.
No, I understand. I was just using the opportunity to get a little more information about it.
Yeah,
I just found out about it today.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to purposely be vague, but honestly, at this point, we don't have, there's no homeowner or home builder ready to go on lots A and D. So I really couldn't tell you at this point.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may. This particular A&R, and also it appears 574 Foundry Street, which is coming up shortly, are both taking advantage of the new Furnace Village District residential zoning that is allowing for infill development by allowing smaller lots that comply with those dimensions for the residential. The Furnace Village District residential.
Yes, thank you. Oh, Dale, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Right, so there is a motion that's been seconded to endorse here. There's no more comment. We'll say all in favor. Amas?
Aye. Kevin.
Nope, sorry. Stetson?
Aye.
Balsara?
Aye.
DeShane? Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Good night. Okay, as we do have the 530 here, Turnpike Street, right, Stephanie?
Yes, yep, I'm.
Okay, 530 and 550 Turnpike Street, A&R 23-313, Rhino Easton LLC.
let's see, did I?
Yeah, I don't think they have the whole crew here today.
No, but, okay, there's Rob Pellegrini.
Oh, well. Well, if anyone's ready, you can state your name and address.
Good evening, John O'Leary with Rhino Capital, the project applicant.
Hello.
How's it going tonight, everyone?
So far, so good, thank you.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Here this evening with me, I have Rob Pellegrini from PK Law. And I believe, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, we're up first for the A&R plan, and then we can get into the site plan modifications?
Yes, yeah.
Great.
And Mr. Chair, if you could ask John, I can't hear you very well.
I'm sorry, is that any better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, Michelle.
I will, I'll try to speak up here.
Well, they just finished the zoning part of the hearing that I was, well, there's another one coming up as well, but.
Yeah, there we go. So hold on one second. Let me just share my screen there. Can you guys see my screen with the site plan in front of me here? So our A&R plan, and I can certainly let Rob get into this as well, but our A&R plan this evening is essentially to eliminate a property line that bifurcates our property here at 530 and 550 Turnpike Street. The building that we're proposing and currently have approved actually spans this property line. So you can see it runs perpendicular to Turnpike Street, sort of turns at a 45-degree angle, and then carries along to the property boundary on the north side of the property. So again, our A&R plan this evening is essentially here to remove this property line. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Might not be relevant to the A&R, but where will the development end along that in relation to that new line or the existing line?
Yeah, so the property essentially, like I said, it spans the width of this the property line. So more or less, if I can, where you see the bottom corner of the pro shop, it's essentially the bottom corner of our building, our proposed building, and then it extends to the right. We're obviously staying within the industrial zone, staying outside of the limits of the bordering vegetated wetlands. So it extends to probably about where my cursor is right here, and then carries up. So it's generally speaking and about this area. And I have a presentation that kind of gets into the next item on the agenda that actually gives a pretty good representation of where we sort of sit in relation to the entire almost 80 acres of this parcel. If that would be helpful, I'm happy to pull that up. It jumps ahead a little bit in the agenda, but I'm more than
yeah, I don't know. I mean, board members, what do you think? Should we let the following presentation influence our decision on the A&R, or should we just wait till the end for everything so we can get a good idea of what's happening, or just vote on the A&R now?
The A&R seems pretty straightforward, unless Stephanie has any other ideas. I mean, I'd be happy to just vote on this and move on to the next item.
All right.
It is very straightforward. They're just eliminating the line that divides the properties now into two parcels so that they have one parcel.
I mean, I'll make a motion to endorse the A&R plan, Stetson.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Balsaric?
Aye.
Stetson?
Aye.
Kadam?
Kevin, aye.
DeShane, aye. All right, the A&R passes. So next up, with the same group, same property, we have 530 and 550 Turnpike Street, number 223-315, Rhino Easton LLC, minor modification of a site plan. So
thank you, Mr.
go ahead.
Chair. Again, John O'Leary with Rhino Capital, the project proponent, and once again have Rob Pellegrini from PK Law here with me tonight. Can everybody see the presentation I have here in front of me?
Yes.
I will let Rob sort of kick it off here.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm sure you remember this project and you're still driving by it. We obviously have John O'Leary here. He's the project proponent. We originally were going to have Mr. Chartier here from MEG, the project engineer, but he is busy helping his wife have a baby tonight. So rather unexpectedly, I'll add. So John and I are going to do our best to get through this presentation without Austin. Really quickly, everybody knows by now where this project is. They're playing in the dirt now. Very easy to see. It's about half a mile from the intersection with 106. It's about 1.5 miles through 24. It's a very large site, just under 80 acres. Really quickly, you should remember this because we received your final approval early fall last year. As you may recall, we didn't have an actual tenant yet at the time. So we explained to everybody we might have to come back for a minor tweak of the plan. So here we are now. Obviously, we did get Concom approval, otherwise we wouldn't be here now. And what we're going to be doing here is requiring their approval once again, but just for an amendment. So I think at this point, I'll pass it off to John and be jumping in occasionally as he moves along.
Thanks, Rob. We'll try to move through this quickly and efficiently. Again, we're down a man here, but I think we can handle what we need to. So as Rob mentioned, we were in front of the planning board about a year ago this time with a proposed project built without a tenant. Since that time, we have actually secured a tenant, as Rob mentioned, a group called Beacon Roofing and Supply. We signed a lease with them shortly after we mobilized activity on the site in late April. So just a quick highlight on who the tenant is. So Beacon Roofing and Supply was a roofing supply company founded in Charlestown, Massachusetts about a century ago in 1928. They are the largest publicly traded distributor of roofing supplies and materials in North America. They have about 7,000 employees operating in 480 locations in all 50 states and 6 provinces. This actually represents the 4th project that Rhino has done with Beacon Roofing. 3 of which have been ground up developments, 2 in southern New Hampshire, and this obviously being the 3rd. We have a great working relationship with these folks. We understand their needs and desires, and have had, like I said, a really strong relationship with them. This facility at 530 Turnpike will replace a facility that they currently operate at 393 Manley Street, just up the road in West Bridgewater, about 3 miles north on Turnpike Street. So getting into the design, I'm going to hit on this evening a couple of the sort of minor modifications that we're going to be making to the site layout. The substantial modification actually comes more with our stormwater, which will be approved or will be proposed in front of the Conservation Commission in about 2 weeks and peer review as part of that project. So what you have in front of you here is our currently approved project. It's a 101,000 square foot warehouse building with 8,000 square feet of office, 93,000 and change square feet of warehousing with 109 parking spaces, 7 loading docks, 7 trailer storage spaces, and about 4.5 acres of impervious coverage. Again, this was approved at the end of last summer, but just wanted to sort of contextualize everybody and make everyone familiar with what is currently approved on the property right now. So getting into the changes. So what you see here now in front of you is what our proposed changes are. So the building itself isn't changing. The building isn't moving. Really, the only changes are very tenant specific and tenant driven. So 3 additions that the tenant has requested, that Beacon has requested, is for drive-up doors. So these will be doors, as you can see, clouded in red, for the purpose of bringing materials from inside the facility, outside the facility via a forklift, to customers coming to pick up materials. So again, predominantly proposed to fulfill customer orders. And again, we can go back and talk about each one of these specifically, but I just wanted to get through them so that everyone understands the request. So the two drive-in doors on the southeasterly corner, the bottom right corner of the building, again, predominantly for fulfilling customer orders. The drive-in door you see along the south portion nearest the loading docks is really for more material coming in and out to service the warehouse space, not so much servicing the customers. The other major adjustment, which I'm sure you've by now noticed, is the connection between the employee parking area and the loading dock area in the rear. So this was something that the tenant specifically requested. And again, the purpose here is a customer will enter through the entrance on the page top right entryway, the north entry. They will enter the sales office, which again is top right, same location as previously approved with the office location. They'll enter there, talk to the salespeople, and then retreat down to the back of the property where they will pick up through the drive-in doors that we just discussed, pick up their material. The goal here with this extension roadway was not so that we could have truck traffic circulating the property, but in fact was so that customers could enter the facility without having to go across Turnpike Street to get back and pick up materials. So really the only vehicular traffic that will travel along that drive alley extension is for customer orders and customer fulfillment. As you might remember, where we're proposing this drive alley extension is exactly in the location of where our former stormwater basin is. So because we don't have Austin on the line, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the engineer and get into the details here, but wanted to just touch on the fact that our new proposed stormwater basin will now lie to the below the building, which you see sort of here highlighted in blue. So this redesign is currently submitted and being peer reviewed and will be discussed on the 26th, June 26th, at the upcoming Conservation Commission hearing. So one of the things that we noticed when we were proposing this change was obviously this is an increase in impervious area as a result of the extension of the driveway. So what we wanted to do was see if there was any way that we could offset some of that increase in impervious area. And what we determined was really what we had proposed being 109 parking spaces in our previous approval probably wasn't really accurate for what the folks at Beacon Roofing did need. We reached out to them to understand what their average employee count is at their current facility in West Bridgewater. And they reported sort of a maximum average of 35 employees operating this facility. As a result, we felt reducing the parking to less than the required by zoning number was certainly achievable and met Beacon's needs more than enough, really. So what we're proposing here is actually 85 total parking spaces, which is 15 spaces less, or sorry, excuse me, 30 spaces less than what is required by zoning. However, it gives a good buffer for customer fulfillment, customers coming in and out, as well as the 35 employees operating at this facility. So the area that you see highlighted in red is the area that we are essentially proposing to, for lack of a better term, chop off the parking. We have designed that area to be a future expansion. So if a tenant in 5-10 years comes along and they need more parking, we actually have that called out as a future expansion area. And our stormwater basin, Austin and his team have designed it such that if that area were to become impervious, the stormwater infrastructure that's in place could sustain and withhold that increase in impervious area. So essentially the stormwater basin that we have is over-designed. So again, here's our approved parking layout per the current design. And then going back, you can see we've essentially, you see where the highlighted red square is, we've essentially proposed to chop off that area again, for lack of a better term. So one thing that always comes up in these conversations, especially when we have a proposed building with no tenant, is about traffic. How are you coming up with your traffic assumptions and your traffic generation? So there's a industry standard trip generation manual that all traffic engineers use. that takes the average of various facilities across the country, applies a land use code, and assumes traffic generation. So that's what we did in that left column. You can see in June of 2022 in our traffic impact assessment, we used the industry standard traffic generation manual to come up with these various sources of traffic. So what you see here is 198 vehicle trips total on an average weekday. And then again, some peak hours being 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Because this facility will be an exact replication of what's currently operating in West Bridgewater, we're actually able to take accurate traffic counts at the entrance to that facility on an average weekday. And what we found was that what the current Beacon facility operates at is less than what was previously approved and reviewed and presented to you all last summer. So what we expect and what we anticipate for this facility is actually less than what our previous project or our previous approval had demonstrated. So one of the other big things that we are really proud of with this project is we're actually planning to restore the former driving range area. So what you see on the right is what was approved previously as part of our former proposal, and what you're seeing on the left is what we are now proposing as part of these changes. So there is a very minor reduction in total area that we are planning to proposing to restore. However, it is still over 8 acres that we're planning to restore. So we're still really proud of it. It's actually going to be, there's no reduction in total plantings. It's simply just a slightly more concentrated because the land acreage has adjusted by a fraction. And then getting into the architectural, I think this is something that folks were pretty keyed in on. So we reached out to a vendor via our architect to put together some realistic and accurate renderings so that folks can see what this building is proposed to look like. I don't think Turnpike Street really actually looks like that, as I'm sure all of you know. That said, what you're seeing here in front of you really is an accurate representation of what this final product of the building will look like. So it's a concrete tilt-up building as proposed and presented this time last year. It has the office space sort of front and center, which you see, and heavily planted in the front. And the next slide, yeah, so again, this is the truck entry and exit south of the building. Similarly, heavily planted with the attempt to shield the building. But again, just wanted to present these renderings. I know this is some questions some folks had. So we wanted to take the time to put together some really accurate renderings to try to display and understand on a plan. It's a little bit hard to tell what the building will actually look like. So we wanted to take some time to make sure folks got a look at this. And that really kind of concludes what I have this evening. Happy to answer any specific questions, go through anything. Again, I know that might have been a lot of information, but again, happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Stephanie, do you have any comments or notes?
I think you're on mute, Stephanie.
No, thanks.
Sorry about that. One thing I want to note, and I think that looking at these renderings, I think that Rhino gets this, is the landscaping and having it be attractive, well-appointed, quality materials is very important to minimizing kind of the grand scale of this warehouse. I think that, again, what they're proposing for the architecture, it's not unattractive. It is, fairly pleasing to the eye as you go by. The landscaping really will help make a difference. As far as the parking goes, I think John hit on this. The original prescribed, as is just noted, was 115 if you follow the regulations. That is a large number of parking spaces. I mean, if this was a very large labor intensive manufacturing operation, that would seem to make sense. This is a warehouse where orders are being filled. They're proposing 15 maximum employees, which would leave 50 parking spaces for customers. I don't know how busy the operation will be, but it would seem that that is more than enough for customers. At the same time, they're allowing that reserve area in the event that the parking isn't sufficient. So in the interest of not continuing to perpetuate large areas of pavement that then don't get utilized, I think the board could consider this reasonable.
So Stephanie, if the backups, like the unpaved, future parking storage area, if that would come to the site plan review, obviously, if they ever wanted to turn that into parking, and then it would just kind of be up to the applicant to prove that their existing stormwater system can handle that without any changes.
Yes, and I'm sorry, let me speak to that too for a minute. My understanding that we have the revised stormwater management system being reviewed by the same peer reviewer that did the original review of the project. My understanding from talking with Mr. O'Leary is that the stormwater system is being designed to the capacity of the full parking in the full paved area. So you will already have that capacity in place for if the parking were needed to expand into the reserve area.
Okay, so then in that case, does peer review it on the basis that, like, including the future parking or not? Or is it just the applicant just does that and it shows that it's good enough for now?
No, they'll review it as the it will be reviewed and it should be oversized,
right? Yeah.
Based on the reduction and that amount of volume that is more than what is needed for the one should be equivalent to what it would have been if it had been fully paved as originally proposed.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions? I don't really have many questions.
Just one for Mr. O'Leary. How long's the lease with Beacon?
That is a good question. I believe standard is 10-year lease, but I can pull that. I can check.
Okay.
Check that for you.
Maybe some 5-year options on the back end.
That's right. That's exactly.
Okay. Stephanie, I know I've asked you this question before and I can't recall the answer. What is the standard for minor modification? Like what is that just our?
It's what the board determines, and really, is this a significant change in the massing of the site? So things I would consider as being something more than a minor modification and they need to come in for new site plan review would be that the building would be substantially larger than was originally proposed and approved. There would be less green space proposed. There would be a significant change in the circulation and a significant change in the parking.
I mean, look, it's a very thoughtful presentation. I really applaud the applicant for what they've done here. I was just curious. I mean, I think I'd probably support it either way because I like what they've done and I think they've addressed any issues that I had. It was more of a technical procedural question from my perspective.
I think the use of the term minor should be reserved for really minor. I will not consider this very minor. It's significant, but it doesn't matter. I agree. I will support it anyway. But it's just the use of the term minor change bothers me a little.
That's what I was thinking too, Amos. But either way, I'm not going to put form over substance here.
Right. It's semantic. but maybe it's a little more than semantic. It's an intention to pass some kind of opinion in front of a change, and I don't like that.
Right, well, I mean, we could go back to the bylaw and look at our definitions, just wasn't coming up quickly for me there. But could you please go back to the page where it shows the loading docks or the loading bays? Okay, yeah, that's good.
That's
And
that one, yeah.
so here, like, so for the one on the north side, what's the plan for? So that's like you said, like for like, you know, maybe like a smaller trucks, right?
I'm sorry, just so I understand the question, you're talking about the plan left entryway?
I was picturing north being over to the right.
Yes, you're right, it is. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Okay.
So the purpose for the northern entry, which I understand to be the question, the purpose of the northern entry is predominantly for both Beacon employees as well as customers. The typical customer base for this firm or this operation is any contractor, whether that be a standard residential home. They do all sorts of different residential home style roofs as well as commercial roofs. So it's anywhere, it's your roofing contractor picking up slate roofing or picking up rubber roofing or picking up metal flashing that's used around the roofing.
Right, so how would they pull up to that loading dock on that side? Is that they just use those spots across the way? Like,
yes, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
but now these are still usually pretty big trucks, right? I mean, when I had my roof done, obviously like a truck with a crane unloaded the pallet. It wasn't just like someone with like a pickup truck or a trailer in the back of their pickup, just offloading a pallet of shingles.
Right. No, I think that's a good point. I think for larger vehicles, which is the reason that they requested the loading, the drive-in dock around the bottom of the screen. Can you see my cursor just out of curiosity?
Yes.
Yeah. So the reason they have this dock down here is for exactly what you're describing, where you have sort of larger vehicles, larger contractor vehicles. For the drive-up door on the northern facing side of the building would be more smaller contractors, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be full roofing products. It can be various different supplies, whether that's fasteners or anything of the nature.
And then, so for the next dock you were just talking about on the bottom right, so that help, like, what's the distance of how far between, like, say, like the building and the green area?
The edge of pavement,
40 feet or something? Not exact.
Yeah, it's probably something like that. If you give me just 1 second, I probably can pull it up and give you an actual number. Give me just 1 second here. Sorry, it's on the fly. Yeah, it's about 40 feet.
Okay, so that's
And what I would point out is that if you don't mind me interjecting, is that the primary purpose of that loading dock or drive up door is not for customers to drive up. It's actually for forklifts to come out of the facility.
Yeah, they just kind of go out and put some things on the truck or something like
exactly
that.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
So probably ground level on that one, right?
Yeah, we actually went through a lot of back and forth with Austin and the team at McKenzie Engineering to ensure that slope, both slopes, are as minor as we possibly could. So we actually raised up the grade in this bottom right area of the building so that sloped loading dock is really minor.
Yeah, so they can drive right out in a forklift, or someone can even pull their truck inside maybe if they wanted to just pick some things up or something like that. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
John, do they do deliveries to locations?
That is a good question.
Construction locations?
Yeah, I believe they do, but I think it's more infrequent than otherwise, as is my understanding. And those deliveries, if they're larger deliveries, would probably be using the truck entry and exit.
Yeah.
There really is the we really wanted to, when we continue to, and I think Beacon has every intention to have larger tractor trailer vehicles really exclusively using that southern entry drive for the purpose of accessing the loading dock area. There really is no intention to have tractor trailers trying to navigate an employee parking area to then circle around the back. It's really predominantly going to be exclusively used by that southern entry and exit. And this is actually one thing that Beacon really liked about this site plan, because their current facility in West Bridgewater only has one entry and exit, and they have a lot of challenges with truck maneuvering in close proximity, or even passenger vehicles traveling.
So in that case, could there be some signage to indicate that is the, put that on the plan?
Yeah, we
That would be my question. The traffic circulation is critical on this side, so I would say signage is the responsibility and of the applicant, and needs to be on the drawing, on the plan, right? It will be, I will assume.
Yeah, so we actually do have a sign location. Again, it's quite small and a little bit hard to see, but if you see on the southern entry, there is a sign location up on the street, which in theory would have, truck entry and exit plastered on it, so that it would be quite obvious which entry is designed specifically for that. The other thing we've talked about and toyed with is about, do we want to put some line striping down along to separate really this new drive alley versus the loading docks? And I think that's absolutely something that we could do.
Right, yeah, just like striping any signage to say this is the way the trucks go in and this is the way trucks go out, or big trucks go in and out. So
exactly.
Yeah. What about painted signage on the pavement for direction?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's something that we had thought about including. Didn't on this round, but certainly can include that. That's a very, very easy lift.
Right, and the other one could say, customer and employee and light truck parking or something too, right? So it's just really clear.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, there's one down here on Belmont Street, and sometimes the trucks, they have to like back out onto Route 123, and it's sort of it's not like people don't drive as fast there as they do here on Turnpike, but it still creates a kind of little traffic mess when they start backing up out onto a state road.
Yeah.
John, would the tractor trailer traffic be exclusive to the first entry as an entry and exit? So would those tractor trailers be reversing and entering or exiting the same way that they entered, or would they be exiting through the parking lot, which is the customer entrance?
The intent in the design is such that they enter and exit exclusively from the southern entry, from the left that you see. There really is no intention to have circular tractor trailer movement. It's really only intended to be through that
there is not enough room to turn the corner for a tractor trailer.
I think you're exactly right.
So
Yeah,
I would echo what the other board members said in terms of signage and striping on the pavement.
Absolutely.
Right, now you said that you have the Conservation Commission coming up towards the end of June. Is that what was?
Yeah, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it's the 26th, 2 weeks from today, I believe.
All right, and they could have some changes that could make it might be just minor changes, but they could be, might require a bit of a change from this. I have no idea. So we keep this this minor modification hearing open until we get a little closer to the peer review and either before or after conservation. I think, does that sound reasonable to everybody else here?
Yeah, I think so. Peter, I just also wanted to ask John, is that square on the bottom left-hand corner, is that the dumpster, and where is snow storage? Where's that?
Yeah, so Snow storage hasn't particularly changed all that much. There will be areas along where the new proposed parking is there, or a new proposed drive alley. There will be some snow storage along this southern portion. I guess it's eastern portion, technically speaking. This square that you see down here, so during initial sort of investigation, we determined, or it was determined, that the water pressure in the street was not sufficient for the sprinkler system that we were proposing in the building. So per code, we're actually required to include a water tank on the property to provide backup and the appropriate pressure to service the sprinkler system. So this was a design change that we learned very late in the process, and something that our engineering team has gone through the proper code to determine the solution, and this is what we came to.
Okay, so where's dumpster?
Dumpster will be similarly in this rectangle down here, right close proximity to the building. There's actually, again, you can't quite see it, but there's a staircase that exits the building, and dumpsters will be located there.
So is there parking right in the vicinity of where the dumpster would need to be picked up?
No, there is not. No. Beacon actually is only proposing 4 loading docks that exist along this 4 area right here.
Okay.
And these all will not be loading docks.
Okay.
Those striping for that purpose.
Got it.
So we're actually going from 7 proposed loading docks or approved loading docks down to 4. It's quite a minor adjustment and less than, but that was their request. That flow and the location of those works better with their interior operation.
That gives the semi-trailers more room to turn.
That's
to go
exactly
out.
right. Yep.
Peter, I don't recall, have we addressed lighting at all on this project?
Well, we have not since we approved the original plans. There was, I think there was there a, did you have a page here on number 9 on the agenda? Or, well, there'll be a whole plan set, right? I mean,
that I'm sorry, that's probably left over from our last plan.
Okay.
The site lighting plan hasn't really changed. I think the only minor modification again would be a few we had previously wall packs along this southern portion of the building that stopped where the loading docks were. Those wall packs will likely continue again to illuminate
Right.
this area.
Okay, so we're calling this a minor modification, but there will be a new plan set, right? Since, I mean, you have to do a lot of work with peer review anyway, so.
Yeah, there's a full new site plan set that was submitted as part of this minor modification, which I believe you all should have. And then obviously all the stormwater information that's necessary for the peer review was also submitted simultaneously.
Then can you update the lighting plan on the plan set? And also we talked about adding the signs at both entrances, right?
Absolutely. Yep. We can certainly do that.
And a page showing the striping, I guess, for the to show that the tractor trailers go out on the south, same way they came in.
Certainly.
Do you guys have anything else before we continue this?
We have a date when we want them to come back?
Well, we could put it out to the next meeting, right? And then if it seems that things are going to take longer with conservation and their representatives would prefer to hang out with their new baby boy or girl, then maybe we'll just leave it up to them. But yeah, we can go to the next meeting. Is that in 2 weeks? I have it on the agenda here.
26.
Is that the same night as the Concom meeting?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Is that going to be okay with you guys, or should we go out one more here?
So Bob, I can communicate with Jen Carlino internally to see if they're expecting some changes. I can learn of that prior to the meeting. if there are really no changes, then the two boards could meet the same night.
Yeah, I think we'd be fine with it. And if anything pops up, I'm sure Miss Danielson will know about it well in advance and we could just push it back again.
Yeah, I mean, and we've given you our thoughts, so I mean, if you felt comfortable kind of splitting up, you wouldn't have to give us the whole crew, as long as what we've talked about so far from what we've showed us so far is
Really?
stays the same, and you make the changes that we asked for.
So really, Bob, from the Conservation Commission standpoint, it's all about the stormwater. And I always check in because we're peer reviewing. It's one peer review for both projects. I always check in with Jen to see where we're at with the stormwater prior to our meeting. So.
All right.
Yeah, in the past, we've gotten a thing where we approve something and then there end up being more changes than anticipated with conservation, and then we're kind of stuck, whatever, finding a way to accommodate that again. So sorry, Rob. I think
No, all good. I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page. I'll make a motion to continue the site, the minor modification to June 26th.
Kevin, second.
Okay. Any further comment? I don't see any public hands raised. So all in favor, Kedem?
Kevin, hi.
Deb?
Balsaric, aye.
Robert?
Stetson, aye.
Shane, aye. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All right. Like we have another ANR plan, 574 Foundry Street, ANR 22-275.
I don't know who's here for that, if there is any representative. It doesn't look like it. It was submitted, the engineering or the plan was done by McKenzie Engineering, and I don't see anyone. I think it was done by McKenzie. Wait a minute. Sorry, this one. $474. Okay, I'm just looking at this and thinking. So this one was submitted and endorsed by the board a couple of months ago, I think it was. And it's back before the board because this is not being recorded at the Registry of Deeds. It's being handled through the land court. And they have what really comes down to some stylistic requirements for their plans. So for example, you can see the title block. Oh, let me show it. The title block requires the land court case information. I believe the scroll, the script style font is required. They have a block over here that is different than we normally see on a plan. So this requires the board's endorsement so that this can be filed with the land court.
Is it in land court just be just kind of a title, kind of a survey type issue where they have to clear something up?
Peter, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to endorse the ANR or the change to the ANR plan. Stetson.
Kevin, second.
All in favor, Robert?
Stetson, aye.
Deb?
Balsaric,
Kevin, aye.
Okay, Shane, aye. Motion passes. So 20 South Street, Old Forge Commons, number 20-209, architectural review.
I'm gonna go ahead and recuse myself on this one.
Mhm. If you want to hang around, we have some more excitement afterwards.
I'll be back.
All right, thanks. Hello, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, William Humphrey, 29th Concert Point Road, Mashpee, Mass.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Stephanie, could you, may I ask, so where we left off last meeting, unfortunately, the pictures that I had downloaded online, they looked like, we were concerned about the west elevation of the home. We were talking about trying to keep it, do some work on that left side, and also we were talking about showing on the plan where the additions are that we're adding to it are, to be more clear on that. So we did that. So we've taken new pictures of the property. Unfortunately, the pictures I took before were poor and it looked like we had some fancy siding on it. It doesn't. So Stephanie, can you please share those pictures of the siding of the home? So we'll go, so that's the, let's see, that's the front elevation. So we're concerned about on the left, it looked like that it had like a, sort of like a stepped shaker siding on this side of the house. That's the front elevation there. So we need to slide up.
Or I think it was maybe the other elevation that showed it better.
Yeah, it showed, but everything's just, the whole house is clapped.
Well, these are the new photos, and
Yeah, these are all the new photos.
I seem to recall that.
So it looked like it looked like it had some fancy siding on it, some like dental tooth design on the upper gable. And it's not, it's just that it's all the paint's peeling off of it and it was wavy. The photos that I took, they were bad photos. So I apologize for that. So everything is just the typical clapboard siding, except on one of the back of the houses. You can see they added something recently. It'll be in one of the photos when we get there. So that's front elevation there. So you'll see everything's clapboard. That's the side elevation. Oh, can you go back down, please? So that was the side elevation. We thought there was some custom shingling on there, and there wasn't. It was just all chipped and bad photos.
But
so
unfortunately, now we can see why the pendants are harder to build.
No, so we can emulate that. That's not a problem.
Before they look just like little things. I was like, why can't you do that? But
yeah, then they look. Yeah, they look like they were fancy. Yeah, all it is a flat casing window with a piece of. I'm going to do something nicer than that. It will emulate that, but it'll be one piece built. It'll be nice,
right?
Out of the PVC. So it'll look like that, but it'll just be nicer looking.
Yeah.
So,
jump in. What about those guys? I didn't see that with the last.
Yeah. So now that is a flat casing with up, down, up, down, up, down. So yeah, we can have, this is easy. All that is a 1x8 and you just put some molding over it. That's easy to do. Very easy to do.
What are those things sticking out? Just like old, like storm window hangers?
Yeah. They're still there. They're in terrible condition, the storm windows, but it's all block and tackle, etc. So the reason I took the pictures of the fireplace as Stephanie scrolled down, so that brick right there, that's called a Cape Cod design brick. Those were made in the 1980s. Those were made in Massachusetts. They're made, so that's not a historic fireplace in any way. I just want to point that out. And if you also look at the dormer behind it, that was added. That was added probably in the 60s or 70s. You can't see behind it, but there's actually white cedar shingles that are all rotting behind that dormer. I think we have one more photo when we go up. We'll show the other side of it. We'll show the east side of it. So again, here, the siding, all it is just regular red cedar clap all the way around the house. So there it is. See right there, see the white cedars right where on that little dormer that was added. So that was an added dormer, and you can see the white cedar clapboard up there. So I don't think we want to have that dormer have white cedar clapboard. It doesn't match. You guys agree with that? It should all be clapboard.
Yeah, you mean those are shingles, right?
Agree.
It just doesn't match. What is a white cedar shingle? You don't even see white cedar shingle houses built in the 1800. It was either some form of a clapboard with pig's blood, etc., for the
Oh,
paint.
yeah, just stick with the clapboard.
Yeah. So that was one of the things we talked about. So we're gonna emulate everything that's on the home, that's there. And then we talked about, we have photos, or I should say, we have a plan that I downloaded showing a better interpretation of the additions to the existing dwelling. So as you scroll down, those should be in that somewhere.
I think they were the first
Yeah.
documents like we had in the, so hold on.
Okay.
It's very clear. I saw it at the beginning of
So Ethan did a nice job. I talked to him about that. I said, you gotta make it so anyone who sees this can tell. I don't care who it is, just please make it so you can tell. So he did a good job on that.
Yeah, the rendering.
Yeah, there we go. Oh. All right, so there. So this is,
Okay,
oh,
so
that was-
that's the
way to
first
go.
one. I just want to make
There
sure.
you
I
go,
have
there you
the
go.
first.
There you go. All right, so you can see the existing dwelling is the ghost shadow. And the new is the adding of the 2-car garage. And I also said that I wanted to do something, you remember the garage door he had were just blank panels. So I'm emulating the carriage house style garage doors that are in the entire subdivision. That's what we're doing. Most of these are all this tile. So some will have double cross buck, some will have single. This has a single. And you'll also see that on the windows of the new, we're emulating the trim over the ghost picture. You can see that up above. We're doing the same thing on all the windows. You'll see us, we're doing that. And we're emulating the same thing on the trim, on the garage. You can see all the, so on the gable that's facing us, you can see all the fancy woodwork that's done with the crown molding and fascia boards, etc. And I think it really looks nice. And then you'll see what we're doing. The lights over the garage door are matching the street lights sort of that we're doing in the subdivision. That's what I'm doing in all the houses too. I'm doing see the overhanging old. So we're trying to create that farm-like look. So the street lights match those too. So it's pretty cool.
And those porch posts, there'll be some type of post with like that looks similar.
That's
like
the look. Those are what we're going
sort
with.
of
We're
shape.
gonna have those created. The only thing, here's what I wanted to bounce off you guys. So if you look at the original posts that are there, I'd like to go with the exact same post, but make it just a little bigger, a little beefier. They look like they're undersized for the size of the porch that I'm building. That's what they will look like, what I want to build. If we could go back to the photographs. So those right there, they're going to be about 1 inch bigger in diameter. So they'll be like a 6x6 instead of a 5x5. If I didn't bring it out, I don't think anybody would notice it, but that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to make it 1 inch bigger, wider. I don't think you're going to tell a difference, but if you look at it, you get up front to it, it looks a little small. I think it just needs.
That's fine, Bill.
Okay.
I would agree, Bill.
All right, thank you, thank you. You know what happens too is when you tie it up in the soffit up above that you're supporting the porch, what happens is it's undersized where it meets the soffit. So the soffit's gonna end up being about 9 1/4 inches wide and you get a 5 1/8 post. It just doesn't look right, it doesn't match, it's too small. So if you put like, instead of having a 5, if you have a 6, it takes up more room and it looks better.
Excuse me. Okay, what about?
Bill, I'm sorry, I had a question for Bill. I'm sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you talk about the grills for the windows?
Yeah, we're going, so that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up because what do you guys want to do here? What I'm doing in the subdivision is I'm doing what's called 4/1. And you'll look in this house and you'll have what they call just clear glass. But then if you go to other elevations, as you can go, if you switch, now you get, so that's called 2/2. So some of the windows are 2/2. Some of the windows are clear. Now, remember, the upstairs windows, we can't build like that. So the plan that we're showing, so this is what's existing. We can't put that in because they're not egress fire windows. So the fire department won't approve those and the building department won't approve them. So they have to be a wider window. So you'll see on the plan that we're bringing before you, we went with a window upstairs that's a little wider that meets it. The downstairs windows are fine. They can be, they don't have to be egress windows because you have doors. You have 2 doors and you can egress. So you can do whatever you want with windows. They just gotta be so many inches off the floor. So you see in the front elevation, you got nothing. So I don't know. I think there should be, you should have.
Peter, do you want me to go back
have
to
a
the
pattern,
elevation?
You should have somewhat of a
Yes,
pattern, really.
please.
Yeah.
So they're showing all clear.
No, I think I've had some windows like old windows like that in a house before though, and they didn't have. But
So if you're looking at
just
what
getting
we're
those.
showing, if you look what we're showing there, so here you got a 20 lot subdivision. I know this, we want to create a house here that has historic value, obviously, which we want to be proud of. We want to look good driving into the subdivision. So here what we're showing is what is on some of the windows. That grill design I'm showing right there is a 2/2. I just feel mixing and matching. I think, so we're showing here is 2/2. That's,
Right.
you see, it's like a black line. So some of the windows have that. You should do with that, where you should stay in the whole same concept with the whole house, should mix and match. It just doesn't.
But can you have those narrow windows on the top? Or those are the new size?
Those windows there pass.
Oh, okay.
Those windows pass. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what does someone else think? I don't know.
I think it's fine. I might be in favor of just the 2/1.
2/1, so up above, just having the single line, and then down below, don't have any grill at all?
Yeah, I might be more partial to that, but I think,
Oh, right, yeah, just let them pick out whatever front door they want. I mean, why are we gonna tell someone
Yeah.
what kind of front door they're supposed to have?
I
So
think the bigger thing is trying to maintain the trim that you mentioned over the windows, and as much as you can, the overall proportions of the windows from as much as you can, you know, and still get the egress that you need for the second floor.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I was distracted for a moment. Is the board saying 2/1 is their preference?
So the whole subdivision is 4/1. I know you wanna, I know this is different. You don't wanna make it look like all the other houses with that grill pattern, a 4/1, which is basically, here we're showing, here he's showing 2/2 he's showing, I'm sorry, 2/2 he's showing right there, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm saying I think 2/1 might be more consistent and a little bit.
Easy to do, it's just, you
Yeah.
just order it that way.
It's just personal preference, and I mean, if
Okay.
anybody was really digging historically into it, you know, they may have a different opinion, but.
Okay. All right, so, and the other thing I wanted to do too, is I wanted to bring before you guys, so, we talked already about, you guys didn't have an issue using the cement board siding that emulates and using the PVC.
Mr. Chair, before Mr. Humphrey moves on to the siding, may I ask another question about the windows?
Yeah, please go ahead.
We are talking about simulated divided light, so
That's
these
right.
would be raised.
Yeah, we
Grill.
talked about that before, right? Yeah, they're not really. Oh,
Right,
you
I
mean
just
simulated
wanted to
divided-
make sure.
Oh,
No, we said we'd do that, we were gonna do SDL, yeah.
Yep.
That's easy
So,
to do.
and
Those are the new-
that will be
that's easy.
shown, that level of detail will be shown on the plans, Bill?
No, you can't show an SDL on a plan, it's just you show the grill and,
I mean, you
what
can show an
do-
arrow that points to it and off to the side. I mean, I
Yeah, you show, like,
understand
a picture of the
I
window that
can
they're
have-
by, like they
that's
look
right.
like.
Visually, it doesn't.
Yeah, I can put an arrow going off and saying that the windows will have it's called SDL, it's called Simulated Divided Light Windows. That's what Mr. Strange, when we first talked about this, he said, he goes, please go with an SDL design. So what they do, I'll put it out on.
It could
Do we
be
have to
noted
go
on
to
the
another
window
meeting?
schedule as well.
Do we have to go to a meeting on this, another meeting, or can we just say that I'll have when I said?
That could be a condition of what we decide today.
Yeah, well, because remember, if the board votes to approve where you're going next,
Yep.
in the change of materials,
Yep.
there will need to be a subsequent meeting to vote to amend the decision.
But
So-
can we at least?
So we
get
could do
the-
that. What I'm saying is you
No.
could do that you could have that for that meeting.
But can we
Yeah,
go?
have that
forward
ready
building
for the
permits and
amendment
starting?
meeting, right, yeah.
Can we vote on it tonight, saying that I'll do the SDL windows and everything else that we're talking about, and so I can go forward and pull a permit and get going?
I think what Stephanie was saying was that, the town council has, said that we need to modify the,
Yeah, I haven't checked with town council on this, but because
okay,
the condition in the permit is so specific,
right, we don't have to.
if you're going to allow something different, you'd need to vote on that. And maybe we can talk about that after the board has discussion, whether
Yeah.
you could start moving forward.
Yeah, I just don't know if he could, I mean, I'm not sure, can he pull a permit if he hasn't, he has to wait for the modification of the special permit?
I think if you guys gave Kevin Greiner the okay that I'm doing everything to go forward with
Yeah.
what it is basically, we could start, the inside of the house has nothing to do with you guys, but. it's
Oh,
not-
right, yeah, you can do plenty of work, right, yeah, okay. I see.
Yeah, but it's the outside. You want to start on the outside first. You want to strip it down, get the windows ordered. Windows take, like this here for this type of window, they take 8 weeks to get in. I won't
Right.
be able to get this house done it's just with all the COVID stuff, it's just
Yep.
frustrating, but.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so how about
Okay.
this side, with the composite hardy board, is that what you called it?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's so the siding is a composite, it's called, well, there's two different companies to make it. You have Hardy Board is one company, and then the other one is made by CertainTeed. So the two different companies, but they're same product. It's basically a cement board that emulates red cedar, and it has like a 50-year warranty. It's just a great product.
Yeah,
Holsby
and then
unit-
the trim is like the simulated wood, like solid.
Yes.
Wood stock, things that cost like $80 at Lowe's or whatever, right? And
It's
those were-
expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but down the road though, you don't have to paint you paint the trim,
Yeah.
you paint it again for 20 years.
Mhm.
So it pays for itself, its first paint job. So you can see we got that all called out on everything for all the AZEK, PVC and all that on the plan.
Yep, that's just how I differentiate, between what I guess we call hardy vinyl siding, which is the hollow vinyl panels, right? So
Yeah, so they call that out. So you have the different companies. You've got one company, certainty, they call it Monogram, and they call it so vinyl has a different name. So the Hardy board is so you got Hardy board, which is a cement board. That is not a vinyl, it's Hardy board. It's a cement with wood fiber siding.
Yeah.
And because of the fiber, et cetera, it accepts paint, and it lasts a long, you paint the house every 15 years instead of every 4 or 5. It's a wonderful product.
So you'll note that somewhere on the whatever we look at after this, even if we do vote tonight.
It should be on the plan that it should be called out on that, on
Okay.
on the elevation that says that. Should be called out.
So where am I going?
I guess you just have to go to a couple of the plans, the maybe front elevation, et cetera. But it should
I
have
just
all
put
the
it somewhere up
siding.
there, yeah.
Yeah, there it is, right there. There it is. So it says, right there, it says Hardy clapboard siding.
Mhm.
So that Hardy clapboard siding is a cement board with a wood fiber. And we're calling out everything else being AZEK, bed molding, AZEK crown molding,
That's
AZEK.
okay, just the last time you said hardy, and then it turned out that it was hardy vinyl siding, which we approved. But that doesn't say, that just says hardy siding, just like everything else has either vinyl or the dense, or the, you know.
Well, Hardy is a distributor of product. That's the thing they make. I'm sure they make all different. I don't use it. This is the only product I use is their clapboard. That's the only product I use of theirs.
Okay, but you're using the vinyl siding, right? For not,
I don't
the
know.
other homes here have the other hardy product that you talk about.
Honestly, Pete, I don't know if Hardy makes a vinyl.
Okay, well, that's what you called it. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm.
yeah, I think Hardy generally makes cement board. It probably would be more clear just for everybody if it said Hardy. Or
I have it
equal
right.
cement
I have
board
it pulled up right here.
siding.
Okay.
So all they make, James Hardy, it's Hardy siding.
Well,
It's-
I'm sure that's okay, but last time when we did all the other houses, you called it hardy siding and it turned out to be vinyl, so that's.
I don't think I called it Hardy. I believe I called it out the other company that I use.
Well, on the,
that's
so
right, yeah.
are we asking about the other houses? Because the other houses you're not proposing is cement board, right?
No,
Hardy or
no,
any other brand.
no.
You're
Everything else is
proposing,
vinyl, yeah.
Right.
But it's not
Right.
Hardy. The other houses are
the-
not doing Hardy.
It's just, yeah, we should put the type of product name on there, so that there's no confusion as to what hardy board is when it comes
Yeah.
time for someone
Yes.
to build this.
So put down Hardy. So the terminology that they use on their site is called, so Hardy plank siding. So all Hardy makes is it makes fiber cement products. That's what they make.
Mhm.
So they don't make vinyl.
Yeah. Good.
So, I could put, why don't I just put down, so it could be more, I'll call it Hardy. Let's see, they call it cement, should I call it cement? They call it cement fiber. So
Yeah.
should I put down Hardy cement fiber?
Clapboard.
Clapboard, yes, clapboard, okay, clapboard, okay, that's what I'll put on the plan.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay. Thank
so
you.
Hardy cement
com-
fiber
Is
clapboard.
it, yeah, clapboard, you can add the word composite to it, but. that's
Put
okay.
Hardy cement fiber composite clapboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
And it might be
So
helpful
I-
if you had the SDL noted on the window schedule, just because whoever's ordering the windows is gonna be looking at the windows schedule.
yep, I got that.
They
I
may,
got that
they
here.
may be referring to the elevations, but they're gonna especially be looking at the windows schedule.
Yep, I got that on my notes. I'll take care of that.
You know, maybe just for our board, we
I-
just have like kind of like a, you know, for like future architectural review, we could just have like a little template where it says, you know, windows, or then window panes, you know, specify which, or then, you know, type of siding, type of clapboard, and just the basic things that we always talk about. That way.
It might
you know,
be-
have a
it
finer
might be on
understanding
there.
of What that material is when it's very
If you,
simple.
if you scroll to the window, it might have that on his, window schematic. If it
yes,
might have it.
I was just
Alright.
saying if it was like on a one-page list that says, here are these 10 things that we always talk about, tell us what you're gonna use.
Like
not
fit,
just-
like a finished schedule, kind of.
Yeah, that like you have your window schedule. It's called window door schedule, yeah. So usually in the window door schedule, it calls out the size of the window. It should be on there.
okay, so I will try scrolling to that. However, I have a question. The vertical board and batten
Mhm.
siding, what material would that be?
I have to check on that. I don't know. Let me make sure that's put on there. Vertical. That will probably end up being unfortunately a wood siding. I don't think I can get that to look historical so they do make a product in a vinyl that does that, but it won't look right. So I think we'll have to
Can't
do
you,
that.
can't you do hardy panel with, like standing seam?
It doesn't give you that look.
You don't get that look?
No, you can tell. So I have a lot of that in the houses that I'm doing. I have a lot of that I'm doing on the, on some of the gables, on the highlighted areas on the home. And
Yeah, I mean,
when
it'll look
you
more
do-
historic when that paint peels and the rest of it looks good. They'll say, oh, look at that. Look at that old red. Look at that.
Very good. All right, we got a comedian here. Okay.
All right, but you're
So,
saying that would be wood, right?
Let me,
The
can-
brick
let me get back to you on that. I just don't think I can, I don't know. I don't think I can match it. I'd have to show you guys the product. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I know it's a garage, but it's on, if you see, it's on the side elevation, it's on the front elevation of it.
Yeah. You convinced us. You convinced us to switch from wood on the entire thing. Now you can switch it. You're convincing us
I
to
know.
go to
It's
the
just,
garage. How's that?
you know what it is? It's just that if you see, if I put hardy plank on a house and I put red cedar siding on a house and I spray paint it, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about it. That's why everybody uses the product. But when I go putting vinyl on a house and I put hardy plank on a house, you can tell the difference.
Oh, it's like,
So
yeah,
my
no matter
point
what
is
kind of
on
paint you get, the
this,
thing's gonna
on
like
the
shine like
batten,
yeah.
on the batten siding, can I
You're
show
okay
it?
with wood here, you're perfectly
Yeah,
okay.
wood sounds great. It'll look nice.
Yeah, it will look more close to what the
Yeah,
intention is to.
Yeah, it's like we
So
get some wood
how-
without you having to do the whole house in wood. Know what I mean? So it's
it's,
kind of
yeah, I don't think it's as horrific because your corner boards are still being done in the PVC. Your
Yeah, that's
trim on your doors, PVC, your doors are fiberglass. So I think it's just the wood part of it. I don't think it will be that much of a hardship for the homeowner.
Mhm.
This is a big house, guys. It's a big house.
Yeah,
It's
it
1,000
has
square
4
feet.
rooms.
It's a lot of, and you know, not only is it, the first floor is 9'2", the second floor is like 8'8". It's a
Yeah.
very big house. It's not, it's beautiful.
All right, so you're
I have
going
I have a question, if I may.
at there, or are we trying to go to the window schedule?
I thought we'd see a window schedule, but I don't see it there, but
Okay,
I'll call it out. I'll call out SDL on the plan, on all the windows to be
and
SDL.
on the window schedule.
And if you guys want, I'll go with you want 2/1. If that's what you want us to go, we'll vote on what you guys want. We'll do that and we'll put that on the plan.
I just,
Utilities on this are
can-
underground too, guys. There won't be any,
can-
you see on the house how it has an electric, you see on one of the side views, shows overhead electric on it. Everything's underground in the subdivision.
Okay, good. So
So I'm sorry, does that mean you're going to change over an underground to the house?
We
The
have to
sub-
put in an underground to the house, yeah.
Yeah.
There'll still be a meter on the side of the house, but you won't have the cable.
I'm sure everyone will be disappointed not to see wires hanging off.
Yeah.
may I ask a question I have, please? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I see something that it's a little odd. Maybe you can explain it a little. There are three outside doors on the side of the house.
Mhm.
There's a front door and there is 3 exits. One can say the back door, but there are the other 2 is around appears to be a fireplace. Is
Yeah,
that-
so there's the front door.
Are we looking at the elevation or?
Well, in the
proposed
elevation, you can see
first
this front-
first floor
on the ele-
plan.
the elevation, you can see there's 3 doors. There's a front door, there's a door that went into, so what you, oh.
I'm trying to get there, I'm sorry.
Oh, no
What
problem.
page,
Proposed first floor plan.
So this is
Going
that's the new house plan right there. So that there shows the front door, front elevation, right there. And if you look at the original house to the right side of the front right garage door. So if you look at the garage door, the new plan here, if you look to the garage door, there is a side entrance door right there where you have the glove. Right there, there's a door that entered in through the kitchen. But what we're going to do is have that door enter through the kitchen through the garage. So when you go through, if you look at the floor plan, you can see that. So we're eliminating that door that was where the garage is hitting because the garage is cutting into the house, so the garage door won't work anyway. We'd have to put even another addition on the house to keep that door. So if you want, Stephanie, you can go to if you want to go to the outside elevations of the house, I can show all the original egresses of the home, and then I can show you all the new egresses to the home.
If I
on the
go to the
proposed-
old, I'm sorry, if you want me to go to the pictures,
All right.
Are you, can you hear me on the
Yes.
proposed first floor plan? You see
Right.
all the doors.
On the proposed plan, we'll show, yeah, could we go to the proposed plan?
And the first floor plan.
okay, Amos, could you please tell me what page, I'm assuming you're in the binder, if you could tell me what page you're on, it will be a lot faster.
Is A9 1.9?
I mean, in your Outlook, do you have page numbers in your, I'm sorry, in your Adobe at the bottom, like somewhere in the middle?
Sometimes you can like mouse over the scroll button up and down and it'll kind of tell you what page you're on.
Scroll down and you have the floor plan.
Okay, so you're near the floor plan, okay.
It's the second floor
Right there.
plan.
There we go.
It's the first.
All right, that's
The
second,
first floor
that's
plan.
second
Okay.
floor.
Yeah, let's hold
That's
on. Let's let
second
one
floor.
person speak at a time here. Amos, is that the correct page?
No, it's
No.
one up.
Okay,
That's
so
second
just take our
floor.
time. Let's get to the right page.
There you
We're gonna
go.
talk about it
There you
and then
go.
we'll move on.
That's
Yeah,
it.
So you have 3 doors on the right side of this plan.
Mhm.
The front door, and then the door in the garage. So a
So,
lot of exits and entries to this, more than usual.
well, we're doing it we're trying to create a look on the inside of the house, in that front. So you can see the front of the house, we're creating, so the kitchen and the family room, you can see are in, it's not see in the front of the house, it says, family room within there, you'll see there's a fireplace
Yep.
there. So what we're creating is, the doors are there, they're probably not gonna be operable, but what they're doing is letting light into the room, so we're doing like a French type door, a 15 light French light door there. So it's just giving it sort of a look.
Okay.
So you won't use those doors, it's just a look. So your real front door will be the one that is originally shown, which is right where the glove just was, right there. So that will be used all the time. The other door that will probably be used all the time is the side entrance, which is, we're calling it the mudroom entrance, which is it's on the east side of the house, about halfway in the middle, and you'll see it's a side entry, and you'll see there's a pantry there, there's a laundry room there, etc. So that will be used as a side entrance. So those 2 doors you see, yeah, so that will be used a lot. The other ones are used for, we're just creating a look.
Are those door
And,
locations okay with you, Amos?
Yeah, I will assume that it was for light, and if there is an event in this house, they can open it up and
Okay.
have people outside.
Yeah, okay, so if the door locations are good, that's cool.
And then the other one is, you'll see coming off the garage, if you look at the old floor plan, you'll see where the entrance is into if you go to the right, just a few feet with that glove. All right, see that door entrance there? So that door entrance used to be to the right where the window is. We're moving now the door, the door was to the left. Now we're moving it to the right. And then we're also having the entrance from the garage into that area too, and we're creating a mudroom over there also. So I don't think that door will be used much. I think the door from the garage will be used much, but I don't know, maybe people will pull up into the driveway and we're just putting a door there because you need to knock on the door. If you come up to you're not gonna walk all the way to the front of the house. So the real usable doors will be the front door, that door next to the garage, and the side entry door, which is going out to like a patio we're gonna do.
Yeah. All right, that's great. Thank you. I think we're good with the doors. So unless anyone has any more questions about door locations.
I'm satisfied.
All right.
Okay. Just a look we're trying to create, Amos.
Yep, got you.
Okay.
So, Deb and Amos, what would you like to do? Would you want to, do we want to make a decision tonight with some conditions, or wait to see the items requested for the next meeting, which the next meeting has to happen anyways, because we're going to revise the special permit to allow for the non-natural materials. But Mr. Humphrey has requested that we consider making our decision tonight with conditions so that he can pull a permit and start, doing some of the preliminary work.
I don't have an issue with us. Should we decide to approve based on the discussion tonight and not waiting until the following meeting, as long as everything is duly noted.
Yep. And Stephanie, Suzanne, we had the notes on what we talked about. Were to specify update the plan to specify the little more exact description of what the siding material is, right? Then the windows.
Yep.
And just add that like list of those common items that we talked about and what the material is, and like kind of the general name, not the exact product if you don't know what the exact product is yet.
I do.
And was there anything else?
Can I add one Stephanie, could the plan that you're on right now, can you just scroll that down just or go up with it just a little more,
Well, I can only, there's only so much nuance.
So on the bottom, only reason I was getting at is the bottom of that page, the bottom left is the window schedule that we're looking for. Can you go, you can't slide that up a little more?
You mean right here?
Yeah, see okay, there we go. So the bottom left, see all those notes in the bottom left? That's the window schedule right there.
Okay, then make sure that it says what we just talked about and talk
right,
about.
But it doesn't have whether they're divided lights or not.
So what they need to do, yes, that's good that you bring it up because it gives the windows, it calls out where they are, etc. So what needs to be added to that window schedule is all that has to be added to that is what's called SDL, which means simulated divided light. So I think do you want us to put it on there and the plan? Just show, or just a note showing to all windows will have simulated divided light?
I was thinking of just like a one-page thing that says windows, simulated divided light, siding, this thing.
Okay, I think that's
trim,
right. Yeah.
This Aztec solid PVC stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how an architect would do it, calling out all that. So the only other things we need to look at is the posts we need to. So we talked about the SDL windows. We talked about
with the post. You said you wanted to make similar shaped posts with a slightly larger diameter, or width or whatever.
Hardy cement fiberboard, Hardy composite cement fiberboard clapboard. And it's already got the side, and I'll put down also all these things. So it'll say the trim work will all be AZEK PVC. So that's
just like those general, even like maybe say like roofing, just that kind of thing. Then we'll just have it's a good way to get started, I think, on a good track here. So
I'll put the garage doors. Garage doors also. Garage doors will be carriage house style, like shown on the plan. Not those, they make metal ones that don't look like composite. So these are,
say like aluminum, but you'll explain what it is. Okay.
Yep. And then lastly was the decking. I wanted to go with the simulated wood decking on the front with no nails. I wanted to do the hidden nail system on the decking, which is I'll call it out what it's called. So what it uses is you do what's called a rim joist that goes around it, and you got to pre-drill it, and then you put the screws in, and then they have these little caps that hide the nails. And then that's the perimeter of it. And then inside of it, the wood gets laid in, the PVC, and they have these clips that hide it. So
so they're not as many fasteners on the top.
It's really, it's a nice system, man.
You still nail it? You still like nail it screwed in though to like the whatever is underneath the floor?
You do, but you don't see it. You don't see it.
I got you. But at least, but the two ends stay hidden, so it just stays cleaner anyways, right? I got you.
It's really clean. You don't see any nails. You don't see any screws that make it look like it's like that.
Yep.
It will be enough for the motion to say that a list of all the items will be on the plan as discussed and needs to be approved by the director.
Right, yeah, and any call outs on the plan will indicate the same, so the plan and the list will have, they will not be in conflict, so.
Right, they'll need to match up.
Yep, so, yeah, that's great, you could turn that into a motion if you wanted to do so.
Yeah, motion to approve the plan in the condition that a list with all the materials as discussed will be presented on the plan with the approval of the director.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further comment? Hearing none. Hamas, are you in favor?
Kevin, aye.
Deb?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Okay, so that passed. Just please have those updated plans and the material list ready for the next meeting, if that's when you choose to come in to wrap up the special permit revision.
I will be. So what I'll do is I'm going to have a separate page added to this. Because
no, that'll just be, yeah, that'll be good. It'll just be nice and clean. I mean, we'll start doing that going forward, so we don't have, just save us time, and it'll be really easy to talk about, right?
Yep. I'll have like the 6 items we talked about all down there. And that way there, you guys can vote on that, and we don't even have to look at the plans. You guys, it was the siding, the posts, all the stuff that I have there. I'm all set with it. All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
All right. Stephanie, you said it was going to be a fast meeting, and
Did I say that? I must have been.
But we still want you to talk about. Let's wait for Robert to get back.
Oh, yeah.
You can prepare to talk about MBTA multifamily by right zoning district.
I'm back.
Yeah,
we
really need to do this, because if we've been pushing it off and off.
Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna take a vote tonight. We'll talk about locations. Locations. Can we just stick with that, and then
yes,
that'll be enough for us. I think to kind of like consume and to think about for a while, for another couple of weeks, and then if the board members think it's a good time, then we can vote on that facet of this. Not vote, but just make a decision if that's the direction.
So, and I'll just
vote for a long time, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to run down kind of where we're at in the process and where we need to be, and then we can.
Yeah.
So the plan for this evening was to go back over each of the proposed districts and really finalize that, make some decisions about whether you want to designate a district as it was proposed, or if you want to consider either removing or adding some areas. I think it would be more maybe removing some of the parcels. And try to nail that down tonight, because we're coming up against a deadline where we have the technical assistance to run the districts against the compliance model to make sure that these are going to be consistent. We can continue to work with them. It makes sense to spend that time. And then once we do that, start working on the zoning and what that will look like. Because I'm guessing that you'll want to do things, you might want each of the districts or some of the districts to look a little bit different as far as the zoning goes. And then from there, we'd start with at a bit of the same time is really start talking about the public outreach and how we get input and feedback from the public and what we need to do that, like what materials we need to have in hand. So I know when we last met, and I'm going to share my screen in a minute, when we last met and the board was looking at this, they wanted to know what the acreage was for each of the parcels, and as well as what the total acreage was for the parcel, and where we had existing multifamily that was close to matching what the density requirement was, what the total number of units each of those areas. So for example, Avalon or 244 Washington Street, what those numbers were for those areas. So I have that information available. I did want to let you know, Wayne Beitler is sitting in tonight. He is the community planner, and he'll be helping, behind the scenes on working on this. So as we start writing, as the board starts writing the zoning, he'll help out with that, as well as when we do the public outreach and preparing for that. So that is why he is in the audience tonight. So let me share my screen. I'm going to keep in the background. So let me just pull this up because we're spending quite a bit of time on that. All right, so I'm going to display the map without the acreage showing, just because it gets cluttered, but I have that handy. So if anyone has a question, we can look at it. And I can refer to it. So I just want to split this off. Okay. All right, so this is the Foundry Eastman district. And what you can see here is that we have Avalon here. This is the target development. This map doesn't show the new units at Avalon, but they are there. And then we have the Hannaford Plaza, this parcel here. We have the 3 parcels here that the board had been approached about for some multifamily zoning and identified some of the districts here. So what are the board's initial comments? I think everyone agreed.
On the side near the near New Pond, what are those the small ones? What are those? There's a house there, right? Like that one right there.
Yeah, I think that's residential.
Do we need those in there to meet what we were hoping to meet?
I think they're pretty small. If you hold on a second. So let's see, that's the district map.
Seems like that leaves like a nice little buff. It's kind of some sort of like a buffer between possibly a 3-story apartment building, you know, from the pond where people would like to do stuff.
So I'm not quite sure I'm following you, Peter.
Okay, so those 3 lots that you had over to the bottom right. Well, yeah. We don't need those. Oh, so those are out of the zone, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Everything in blue is kind of the proposed area. It not kind of is the proposed. And again, this is just, you know, looking at this, certainly with Avalon and a couple of other parcels, you would be able to get to at a minimum, the 15 units per acre. Again, recognizing that at least some of these districts need to be able to accommodate more than 15 units so that you can
it shows how that we can get a little bit creative with this, where most likely, like say like Target, Starbucks, the church probably aren't going to just going to get torn down anytime soon for something new, right? I mean, I'm just guessing, but maybe
correct. We wouldn't anticipate that. In fact, I was just going to say that with the Avalon development here, what I'm hearing from people who, and with the Starbucks that has been constructed, that there is a lot of activity now. It seems there's an increase.
Right. Yeah, I just mean that it's completely unlikely that like Avalon's going to get torn down anytime, probably even in our lifetime, right? To build more.
Correct.
It's possible, but it's very unlikely.
I have a question of principle. So let's say that you bought a new, I think this area for the new bylaws, and this is the district, but it's not feasible. It will never be developed because none of these things will move on the next 15 or 20 years. Does it matter? Will someone come back to us and say, "Hey, you cannot do this"?
So I'm having a very I'm having a very hard time hearing you, but I think what you're asking is if your district, if there's existing development in your district that's very unlikely to change over or be redeveloped, such that, you know, someone might come in and say, oh, the Hannaford Plaza, the folks that own the Hannaford Plaza, we're going to sell this, and maybe a multifamily developer comes in. But we think that's not very likely in the near future. Does that matter in defining the district? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I say if I design, assign a district, knowing or not knowingly that it will not be developed ever, is that a problem?
No, right now they're saying, because right now the state's saying, and I can't imagine, this is not a mandate to construct, because the town's not in the business of constructing housing. This is having zoning that would allow this type of development, were a parcel, several parcels become available.
I understand that. I understand that perfectly. I'm asking the question. If I knowingly will assign something that will not be developed because I disagree with having this type of development altogether, that doesn't matter. That will now the state or the attorney general.
It is permissible to include, yeah. Stephanie and the consultants have built this based on what they have learned from the state is acceptable for the new bylaw. And we can include those, right? So that's, yes, that's why they're presenting this to us, not something else.
Right. I mean, I would say that if the intent is going in to identify areas that you know never will be built under this type of allowed zoning, the state would rather people aren't going in with that attitude, that they're going in with including areas that certainly could be developed.
But whatever, I mean, the discussion is, it's kind of like a moot point because they already passed the law and they've already issued the guidance and we're conforming.
Right.
Where the goal here, if we decide to approve it and the town does, is to try to conform with that requirement so we can continue to receive with our state funding.
So for example, Wayne and I were looking at this, and I can certainly ask Wayne to kind of weigh in. We were looking at Avalon and then these three parcels. And it looks like if you included that and defined the district this way, you could, and again, your zoning would need to allow the density that would make it conform, but that could form your district, and you could probably build that to 15 or, you know, let's say 19 units per acre.
That was my next question is, so we're going to run the numbers, and when you run the numbers, can you kind of say, like, what if you just cut out everything to the north of, to the south of Eastman Street? Will they do that for us? Okay.
Yeah.
So those ones across become like kind of like backup properties in case the numbers don't work out. Is that kind of the intent of how that they're going to go about that?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of a question. I mean, does it even make sense to include these?
I don't think it makes sense. If we're going to try to do something that we like and we'll probably get and have a decent chance of passing at a town meeting, then I don't think we should add any more than we need to. Right? That's just asking for trouble, I'd say, but. Yeah.
Well, again, one of the things that we're, so we did get technical assistance to do the fiscal feasibility study to determine if the town could increase the number of required affordable units from 10% to 25%. And the purpose for wanting to do that is so that the town can it helps maintain that 10% subsidized housing.
Are you saying you're trying to roll something out different than just the new state mandate into this, or is that, did I misunderstand?
I'm sorry, Peter.
Oh, but are you just showing us possible rezoning in order to meet the new state mandate as part of the COVID relief package? That's what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about just like some big new zoning idea that has nothing to do with, that is just related to the COVID law.
I'm sorry, I'm not following the reference to COVID.
Oh, never mind. Oh, well, that's what the law that was, the COVID funding was the vote that the state took when they included this provision. And I mean, that's why we're talking about in the first place. That was
The economic development.
okay, economic development, right? Yeah.
bill.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right, so are we merely looking at this like, from the view of conforming with that requirement? Is that, I feel like I misunderstood you.
so you'll recall when I issued the guidebook that, so one of the questions that came up during the comment period after the state issued the initial guidelines for these MBTA zoning districts was, could as part of the zoning, could towns require an affordability percentage of units? And the initial response they came back with was no more than 10%, because it has to be economically feasible for a developer to develop it. They came back because they got some additional comments, and I may have the sequence a little bit wrong, but with the final guidance, they said 10% unless you can demonstrate that it is fiscally feasible. You do fiscal analysis that demonstrates that it's financially feasible, that you could require more than the 10%, up to 25%.
Okay.
So, but you have
aspect
to
it,
demonstrate
right? Okay, yeah, that's different. So the state decided that you can require more affordable so long as it's economically feasible, given that zone that.
Right, and you have to actually go through that analysis. So
yeah.
We applied for a technical assistance grant to have a consultant that is qualified to do that type of analysis, just so that we could see if it's feasible.
Okay. Right now, we're just trying to meet the new state requirement, though, right? That's what has to happen, so we can keep getting our money.
At a minimum,
certain funding from the state, we have to meet that new requirement, and that's what you're showing us now. Is that
yes? Yeah.
Okay, great. So when they do the analysis or run the numbers, whoever does that, will they able to say like, okay, we ran the numbers, and you need to all these the parcels that you have in blue right now to the north of Eastman Street will fulfill that part of the requirement. Is that like what's the next step here? Are you asking us to say, yes, this zone looks reasonable so that we can run the numbers and see where they fall?
Well, I think we were thinking that it wouldn't just be this one zone.
Well, but yeah, I wasn't in my mind thinking we're going to make it any bigger than it has to be. And I'm definitely not going to be one to kind of run a conversation here where that's what we're talking about. Any other board members, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Peter. I don't think we should make it any bigger than it has to be. And I'm curious to know whether or not we can accomplish all we need to accomplish and what you've outlined on this section. I mean, I'm just looking at it at the footprint. You've got a massive amount of parking already there, and you've got 3 very large structures, putting aside Avalon, that are already there. If it became economically feasible at some point in the future for some multifamily buildings to go in there in place of Target. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen tomorrow, but we've seen what's happened to a lot of big box stores. It's not inconceivable that it would happen, 10 years from now or something like that. I don't think it's a bad idea to consider adding some pretty significant density there. That's my opinion. I mean, you could essentially turn this into like a little downtown region of its own, which I don't think would be the worst thing. I know there's some traffic issues there for sure, and I don't want to downplay that. But if we're talking about a lot of multifamily use, it's going to be concentrated to certain points in the day, as opposed to, constant kind of traffic in and out at all points of the day when you've got all these retail establishments. So it's just a thought, and I think it's largely along the same lines of what Peter was suggesting, but I don't know, I haven't obviously run the numbers, so I think, some guidance in that regard would be useful.
So on that district, you just have the report that, let me put my hands on that.
Right,
So
and
when
then-
they went through the initial compliant,
Just to be, and Stephanie, just to be clear about what I'm suggesting, and I may be way out in left field in terms of what the rest of the board is thinking, but I would consider adding more density than what we've talked about in the past, which was whatever, 15 units per acre, or whatever we had talked about previously, to try to locate the density all in this one kind of area. That would be something that I would certainly consider.
so would you also consider doing that maybe in another area as well, so you'd have two areas of density?
I think
I mean, if we look
look
at
to see another option so we can decide, and I'm just one person. I mean, the rest of the board, I can say, hey, let's do this in 3 different places, but I'm definitely not going to be the one to be that person.
Because I don't
I'm not-
think,
I'm not an urban developer or architect, but creating this is already densely populated. And creating additional density on this same location, we also created some kind of focal high density in one place. I don't know if it's to consider, maybe for this area, we need to cut a piece and not assign all the area to satisfy the need, because you are going to create here, if it happens, I don't think it will happen, but if it happens, it will be really, really dense, like an inner city dense.
Well, I don't know about New York City, and you can have it here, or you can have it on deep down at 5 Corners. So we didn't write the state law; we're just dealing with it now. So we can decide. But yeah, and we haven't ran the numbers anyway, so it's not really. Once we run the numbers, we'll see if it would be like New York City or not.
yeah. So looking at the when they ran it through the compliance model, this area with all the parcels identified here would have a capacity of 1,357 units with a density of 15.1 units per acre.
Right, and I mean, and we're free to go higher than that density if we want.
Yes. Yep.
And we could take the top off of certain height restrictions. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do.
Correct.
Don't get me wrong. I understand Amis's concern. I also kind of like the idea of concentrations of people, because I think that developers might look at that and say, hey, you know what? There might be some synergy here with, a ground floor restaurant or something like that. And maybe you get some of that walkability that we talk about all the time, but I'm not sure that the kind of the preference for low density is really commensurate with that idea. So I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I'll consider any of it, but I just want to throw it out there that I would consider adding a lot more density.
Right. I mean, and it's it's like, I think it's just like what, 4 lights away from the Mansfield train station. It's 2 lights away from Route 495, right? So it's like, it's not, yeah. I mean, this is
right. And
I would agree with what Bob is saying. I think Peter might have said that as well. I think in taking a look at height and so forth is also a valid point. The one thing that I think also needs to be would need to be reconsidered, though, is traffic flow. And I don't think that the current arrangement, which obviously everything would be being redesigned anyway, but obviously I don't think the current traffic flow and circulation is adequate, and certainly wouldn't be able to take on far greater burden of residents and businesses. So that would be my only other thought. But I think that it would be preferable to try and concentrate it in this district as opposed to splitting it up into various other ones. And
Yeah.
Deb, I think you bring up some excellent, I'm sorry, I think you bring up some excellent points about the traffic flow and over time. I think that's something else to think about for like an area like this, because if you're concentrating it, I mean, this, I believe, is one of the reasons they're holding up the access to the infrastructure funding, granting, you know, the grant programs and all of that. So that would be something if you determine that this is an area where you want increased density and concentration. And we know that we're already working on improvements to Boundary Street, but let's say this intersection and maybe Robert Drive, because that's getting a lot of traffic. Those could be things that potentially we could see funding for roadway improvements and infrastructure improvements.
Right, but they said it's only for the mass works, right? But they happen to be the same people that vote, that decide.
Well, there are several grant programs. There's a housing choice program. Then there's the Mass Works grant. They have planning grants.
Yeah,
that
even the regular
all
state
tied
routes.
together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to? I have a question actually on here. On the southwest. What are those the two big parcels not included? Are those just?
They're wet.
That's the swampland part. Yeah. Okay. The wetland.
Yeah, they're pretty much all wet.
Okay.
These areas over here, this is town-owned property.
Yep. So I guess.
So
I think it sounds like some of the board members for this one. It sounds like I and maybe a few of us would like to see like the numbers on the north side, and then we can decide if going more dense there would be an option, right? And I don't know, would we get numbers just for the other across the street, like including this place like, or do we just exclude across the street? I mean, that's next to people's houses and stuff. I mean, so is that what you're thinking? Maybe. So what we did is the information we gave them was based on 15 units per acre. I think maybe 3 stories, 1.25 parking spaces per unit. So that was kind of the assumption we made. We figured that was really a very conservative approach. And that's how they derived that with all of the parcels included, you could get the 1,357 units. So if we add a floor, so 4 stories, or do you want to go a little higher? Well, do we still need? Do we need more though, or does that satisfy it in the first place? Well, if you remove the other parcels, that will affect that number. Oh, I don't know by how much, but or we could just say run. We could just say run the numbers without these parcels. We already know what the baseline is with those parcels. Okay. We run that, and then you figure.
Why do you want to remove it? Why you?
Because
I'm asking.
One of my reasons is that it is right in people's actual physical backyard. Scroll down a little bit. So there, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like a 6 and a 7 over there. That's 7. I mean, that's and they already have, pretty large commercial buildings there, anyways. But if we don't need to include those, I don't see why we would. I mean, what do you think? Do you think we should just include those, even though they're right behind people's houses?
Which one, Peter?
Oh, let's see, Bob.
The church one, Peter's definitely pointing at the church one.
Yeah. Yep, 2 behind the church.
No, those are not on this district.
Okay, no, but that's why I was saying maybe exclude the church just we don't have to exclude. I think the church, if anything, is a good one to include. Maybe the others we just exclude. But,
Well, but if the point is you're trying to, demonstrate you could get the density, do you want to include the church knowing that, although you're including the other areas too?
The more you exclude, the more density you need to provide.
All right,
Right.
well, yeah, so we don't just have to have one, we also can, I mean, if we could use, we didn't look, Stephanie, you didn't look at the existing piece of commons, but you could just use that and say, hey, here's our extra area, and it's 2/3 built as far as, whatever, and then.
Right. The only parcel, I'm gonna jump down to that for a
Yeah, why don't we
moment,
look at the next, let's look at something else, just so we get some ideas.
because. And so let's look at this one for a minute. So this is the Queesit district, and this is Belmont Street. This is an old map. I didn't realize I'd included this.
But the problem here is
So
that,
the only parcel that actually qualifies is this one right here, which we have right now 60 condominium units. And I have to jump over here for a second to see what the
and we.
and it's 13 acres. So
Well,
that's 13 acres. We can't use the rest of the Queesit parcels because they have a mandate for mixed use. And this is the only one that does not include that mandate.
And we did a good job screening on that. We might not be able to screen as well for.
So you could include that.
the other sections.
And again, right now it doesn't meet the density, but you could set.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was just talking about being like, behind people's houses and not wanting to include that. So I kind of changed. I wouldn't want to make like that one more dense, even though it's sort of unlikely, right? Oh, maybe not.
Then if we look at these parcels here, right now, this is, and let me go back to my other map, because I think this is 30 units of rental right now. You have this building right here is an apartment complex. You have this as an apartment complex. You see where, right now it's not on the sewer. But again, we don't have to take that into consideration. It's not part of the compliance model, whether it has sewer or not. Basically, what DHCD has said is that, developers will figure that out. So you could easily see where you could put, say another couple of buildings here and get that density there. And the folks who own these parcels here have asked to be included in the district. They would like to be part of the MBTA, that level of density. So they're looking for that. And then
what about IBC or whatever
we'd love for them to stay where they are. They have indicated a strong desire to stay in Easton.
we can still use their lot. We're not telling them anyone has to do anything here, right? That's the whole point of this whole thing.
I agree, Peter. The only caveat I would put on that is that we are still trying to see if we can't get sewer for the industrial park. And I don't want to send them mixed messages, so we'd have to really explain that to them.
Well, what sewer for the industrial park?
No, that if we're including them in a multifamily by right zoning district, it's not because we want to necessarily see them developed as multifamily.
No.
What is that on the middle, Stephanie? The big building?
That's IBC. That is a manufacturing plant. And what they do is they manufacture
cable type things like that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
like metal cables and something like that. Things like
yes.
That, like
yes.
metal strands. Type
yeah.
And why is not included? Because it's part of
for the reason I just stated. We thought this was an area, and this was an area Greg and I had talked about and laid out.
Yeah, just you think it might be too tempting, and they might get.
You think this is too much, and it really should be part of the industrial park. It isn't part of the
But you feel like they would get an offer that's too good to refuse if, possibly, and then we wouldn't have that business operating?
I don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, but that's kind of what we were getting at. Well, you say, well, yeah, we want you to stay there, but we did include you in our zone.
right, that's all I'm trying to say.
We can.
Wayne's
So
also
we don't-
reminded
we
me
don't-
that
we
part
don't-
of the
we don't
reason was
think-
we weren't including any of the industrial park. And this, while it's not the industrial park proper, I think everybody feels like, of course, it's an extension of the park. It's an industrial use and they just don't have access to the industrial
Well, I
park.
mean, okay, I mean, it's like, well, I mean, like, the Target, well, Roberts Drive was all.
So
was
let's
all
see,
business
what
zone,
did we
right?
get for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, Roberts
So
Drive
on
was business
Belmont-
zone and we turned it to, but, well, okay, yeah. I mean, with a planning and zoning board, that we do change zones sometimes, or allow different uses, so that's what we're talking
So,
about.
yeah, this district it shows that the capacity is 298 units throughout the district, and that's a density of 17.1 units per acre,
And that's in the green.
all the green.
That would be pretty appealing.
I mean, I sort of feel like between, between Eastman Street with or without the properties to the south, and then this one with or without IBC, I mean, that must be getting us close without overdoing it. That might.
Well, you can, yeah, if you go simply with the, again, looking at Foundry Eastman, the capacity at 15 units per acre, just 15 units per acre, you can get 1357.
Yeah, so it's not like.
And we need 913 to meet the minimum total number of units that the districts can support.
Okay, so probably the north of Eastman, and then this one, the green with or without IBC, should be more than enough. And
Yeah.
then we can just kind of we can either cut things out, but want to leave a little bit of like leeway if the affordable thing will work out, but not go too zoning crazy on this. Just enough
Okay.
to satisfy the new requirement,
So-
and then maybe have a little extra leeway for a few years.
Yeah, I'm going
So
to
I-
allow Wayne to talk because he keeps reminding me of little things like, the other thing we need to do is have 50 acres in total.
That's
So-
right. 50 acres total, but not like in one spot, though, right? Yeah.
Correct. And you have to have at least 25 of that has to be contiguous, but you'd get that with the Eastman Foundry site. So let's look at acreage.
Stephanie, there are 3 lots that are not included on that bottom corner of the green area.
I'm
One
sorry.
small one. There are 3 lots not included on the lower left side of the green area. Yeah. Are those excluded? Because.
Again,
they don't-
I think
So
mean,
that's
they could be. These are active businesses.
Mhm.
This is McDonald's cabinetry. It's a historic building. It was an old school. It's not
Yeah.
part of the historic district. It would be subject to demolition delay if someone were to come in and decide they needed to demolish it.
and the dentist and Wendy's. Yep.
Yeah. So looking at this, again, Foundry Eastman, the total acreage of that district as it sits right now with the parcels on the south side is 90.6 acres. So it looks like if you had Eastman Foundry plus this, you get the acreage, and it looks like you could get the density that you need. Can we jump to another?
You're talking about just north, because we only need 50 acres.
Yes. in
So I
total.
think it sounds like if we ran the numbers, we might be able to do what Peter had suggested, which
Yeah,
seems
right.
pretty appealing to me.
Yeah.
Which was, say that again?
Basically the north of
Yes.
north of
Yes.
Eastman plus this district, and that might get us there.
plus the green.
Let me
The
just show
green,
you.
yes, I meant the green.
Let's just go here for a minute. This is Washington, Maine.
Mhm.
This is 244. And that, let me go to that here. Let's see, so 244 Washington Street is where you have the two buildings with 40 units already of multifamily. That is this parcel right here.
Yeah.
So that's 2.8 acres. You have 240 units. And so this is just another thought, because it was an area where the density already existed. And, you know, going back to the points that you were making, Bob, about boundary Eastman, why it's attractive to have that level of density, because there are services, there's closer access to the highway, to the Mansfield transit station. This, again, is a little more centrally located, closer to some of the existing businesses and services. It's certainly closer to more broad services, like the post office is right up the street over here. The town offices, this is probably just about a mile to walk if you want needed. Not that anybody comes to the town offices anymore, but if you wanted to, there are other, you know, you have Langwater Farm up here. Eventually, you know, we hope to see some sidewalks along here. So this might be another area that.
I don't really prefer that one, but I don't know about the others. Does anyone prefer this option as part of the plan?
You also, this is just a suggestion and a thought. You might want to have more than just two to hang your hat on. So when you go out for the public input, you have something, you're getting more response. And if someone really doesn't have an appetite for that, then you have something you can give up.
Okay, that's a good point, but I don't know. Okay, yeah, well, let's look at the others. I just don't, if we're gonna maybe at least cut one out, this might be the one. I'm not sure, for me at least.
I think it might be good to have a strategy though, like on whichever one we want to try and persuade the public on as the best option, to sort of have a list of like our reasons for why it makes sense. You know, maybe because of like, you know, density, because of infrastructure already in place, maybe because of, you know, being able to have mixed uses within one area, like whatever the reasons are, and have that be like have a choice property that we're sort of demonstrating that one area meets those criteria better than other properties, and maybe we have other alternate properties, just like as everyone's saying, as sort of a fallback, or as at least for discussion purposes, but maybe also to just demonstrate how those properties don't meet the objectives as well, as opposed to going into it saying like, well, we could do it here, or we could do it there, or we could do it here.
That's a good idea.
Well, I can tell you in addition to the things that we've talked about before, the other thing I like about Eastman, quite candidly, is that it's not so close to the college. I mean, these last two that we've seen are, you know, really close to the college, and I don't know I have no clue how many students live off campus, but I think just in terms of trying to, you know, encourage people in multifamily housing to become like a part of the fabric of the community, you know, I'd probably rather, you know, keep it a little bit of a distance from the college as best we can. I'm not saying that corridor there that we were looking at before, or even this one, couldn't use some improvements. I mean, certainly they could, but that's another factor I would think about.
You know, that's actually a good point from another perspective, Bob, is that also because you want the housing available to people who need it, not just students who are here for 4 years and then moving on. You want it for people to
But yeah,
live.
right, that's true, but it's not to say that that Queesit Commons is getting filled up with college students. Those are pretty expensive. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on what gets built, right? But
True.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are some college students live there, if they pool their resources or they share rooms and things, but I don't, from what is kind of the secondhand knowledge I have, haven't heard that there's
No,
lots of college
it
students
will,
renting
it will
there.
be rented to a student.
Mhm.
Someone will buy.
It's a good point. But, I mean, it's good. Yeah, it's a good point. That way we could have different, it doesn't, I don't know if it rules out, say, about the Belmont Street option, right? But it's most of I think the focus is on Eastman anyways. That's like the 70, that's the big one, right?
I am in line with what Deborah was saying, that you should have a pro and cons for each one of them.
Yeah, right.
Kind of difficult. So the con might be for some of them the same or not. So it's a pro. So it almost makes sense to take all this and do it, and see after that if you can.
Okay, so yeah, the con for me on this one is that it's not really like a historic area of like development and industry. We got Washington Plaza when I was a kid, and there was a rumor there was going to be a movie theater there, and it never happened. It never happened, or an arcade or something. That never happened. So we had that, but besides that, Hilliard's has always been there, but that's not that type of use. So I just don't feel like the way I think about this area, that it's not a large, dense multifamily area. That's how I feel.
Can we see the other one, Stephanie? There are more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, hold on 1 second. Okay, so let me go back here. So this one was really, and what I'm hearing from the board is that you really are interested in making sure that the zoning would support housing in the right places. This one is the property that the board just permitted, and you just saw tonight, 530, 560 Turnpike Street. We all know that it is being developed as a warehouse. All this backland here is being allowed to return to a natural state. So there are a lot of advantages to that particular project. However, this could easily meet the density requirement if that's all you were looking to do. Not what I'm encouraging at all. I think that the discussion tonight has been really good and thoughtful. So unless people really have strong opinions about that. But again, I think to Deb's point, and I think Amos, this is what you were echoing, to be able to talk to, show here's everything we thought. It's like when someone's proposing development that is going to affect a wetland resource area, they need to demonstrate that they thought about other options and everything. And I think that's what you were saying, Deb, is to say, here's what we considered, and here's why we felt these options were the best in really in achieving the goal, meeting the mandate, but at the same time, providing the best type of housing in the location.
And I think another way to look at it is that we seem to be leaning towards proposing these districts in areas where we've already set up zoning to allow like multifamily or more dense development, right?
Yeah, right.
The Queesit district, and then also the Foundry. You know what I mean, right? So we're not like adding we're not adding brand new ones, even if they happen to have a new warehouse in the wetland like this one, right? We're taking what's already there that we've already decided was a good place, and enough voters at the town meeting agreed, and so that's a different way to look at it, right? And
Yes.
did you
And
have
even
another?
And again, the Belmont Street, because you do have some multifamily there already, and you have someone who's interested in that for their property. And it's, again, it's in a location that's close to other amenities and services and to Route 24.
Right, and the zoning for Belmont is more restrictive because that was the 2/3 ratio, you know, commercial to residential, even though it was allowed to be more dense, the numbers don't work out that well for, you know, for people
Should
to
we
get both and
consider
actually build something, right? So,
should we consider a combination? And then have that spread in 2 different districts, maybe? That's a possibility too, right?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well.
You can pick more than one district and have it spread in 2 areas. Or 3
Right,
areas.
so again, you have to have 50 acres in total. Of those 50 acres, 25 acres have to be contiguous, and then your sub-districts have to be a minimum of 5 acres.
So if you choose that, it's because you want to spread this density, not put it in one place, right? That will be the rationale for that.
If you chose this,
No, if you choose, not this specific. If you choose to do 25 contiguous somewhere and 3, 5, or whatever that will take, or 4, 5, right? To make 50.
20, you need 25 additional.
So 5, 5. That will be because you want to spread it. I'm talking about.
So this is Wayne weighing in.
I'm not suggesting.
Amos, let's let Wayne speak for a minute, please.
Hi there. Amos, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think it's not necessarily just to spread out density. It's so that individual towns can target these sub-districts to any number of locations that make the most sense for them, rather than just having to do one single, 50-acre zone. You can concentrate it, as this group has been discussing, in places where it makes sense to have multifamily, where it can incentivize redevelopment, where it can tie into commercial uses, and to Mr. Stetson's point, creating these sort of walkable downtown areas. So there's another provision in the zoning. So it has to be minimum of 15 units an acre by right residential, but you can also incentivize with greater density or greater height mixed use. You can't require mixed use, but you can allow for more density if they have mixed use. So you may want to consider, for example, one 25-acre zone that is just all residential, and another, say 10-acre zone that is more dense but has that mixed use ability as well, if you wanted to try and see if you could get some commercial in. So, there's different ways of using the guidelines to try to concentrate development where it makes most sense, and try to incentivize the sort of development that one wants to see.
Yeah.
But if you try to avoid the congestion, traffic, and all other things, maybe spreading is a strategy that should be considered, taking consideration everything you are saying.
Yeah, possibly. Or, the 15-minute neighborhood. Everything you need is in a 15-minute walk.
Right.
If you keep, say, Highland Plaza, but redevelop Target and a bunch of the other parcels around there, then you'll have this shopping plaza with a lot of different stores, and everyone can just, walk there. They don't have to necessarily drive to get to the grocery store, for example. So there's, different ways, I think, of approaching it.
Yeah. Stephanie, can we look at, do you have another one for us?
okay, so let's see, I think we've already done, let me just check. Oh, this is the 5 corners. So let's see, corners.
That's Eastman.
Yep. I think this is the 5 corners.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
Maybe rotate that. Okay, so this is 55 acres in total. And let's go back. I just find this a little easier to look at. So you have the Shaw's Plaza here. You have the residence at 5 corners. This is Whistle Stop. You have this is the 464 Foundry Street, where you're going to get 22 units of multifamily zoning. And, you know, this abuts Gaslight Lane with the condominiums over here. So again, and this is all going to be part of the long range improvements to Foundry Street with sidewalks and bicycle lanes, and really trying to accommodate that walkability.
Yeah, I mean, if we're pretty certain we're like east and north, then really it would kind of be a decision between either Queesit or like something like Shaw's and the, you know, Shaw's and the new approved apartment building, and maybe assisted living, right? I mean, that would be way more than we even need. If Belmont plus Eastman North gave us more than we need, then we don't really need anything here. But if we wanted to not have Belmont and then use this, like even Shaw's would be more than we need. I'm assuming just based on the size, right?
Yep. And then and then I think this is the last one, which is this is North Washington Street up by the Roach Brothers Way. And, you know, the advantage to this would be if the MBTA does proceed with the South Coast Rail through Stoughton.
Right.
But again, I think looking at this from, I'm not even sure. I've always looked at this and wondered where they would put the train station, because I think a lot of this is wet in through here. But that gets us.
It's another.
I'm going to pop to the district map for a minute.
What will be wrong with that? What are the cons of that one?
So that's 45 acres in total. And if I look at the map when they ran it, that is, actually, they're saying the capacity for that area, North Washington Street, is 665 units at 17.6 units per acre.
Yeah, so we have a lot of, do we have all this, like, is there a page like with it all just kind of listed out like this, you don't have to show us right now, but if you.
The numbers that I'm showing you, they were included in your packet and we can resend it.
Yeah.
One of the earlier packets that had the compliance model.
And.
So this one alone is not enough.
No, what did I just say that was?
45.
That's actually, that's 33 acres in total.
So, and I just have a question. How, why didn't we do Blackledge?
I don't think it's really big enough.
Yeah, that really was it. And it doesn't have anything really near it.
Oh, you mean like other properties, like besides?
You've got a lot of wetlands, right? Yeah.
But I mean, it's as big as, is it not like almost as big as this? Not really.
Well, you know what? I'll pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go to my GIS. Let's find, I'm gonna get out of that map. Lose that. Oh, you know what? This is not gonna work the way I want to, because the GIS guy.
Oh, are you getting upgraded? Great.
Yeah, you can actually go just
Yeah,
like.
it gets
yeah.
updated and then I have to log in again, but you know what, I can get close enough to it.
You can just go to property viewer, it's
is-
easier.
I was gonna say, Peter, I think that one advantage to this location, which isn't, Stephanie, isn't it correct to say that this is not a factor that we're supposed to be considering? But I do think it has good access to both like Stoughton and Brockton transit, but I don't think that's part of our criteria.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
near-
it's the MBTA
Anything
zoning, right?
near
So,
some type of transit or smart growth type area, and that's part of the other, I mean, everyone's articulated what the smart growth concepts are, which are walkable neighborhoods within 15-minute walk of, you know, just about anything you might need.
right. And we're
Walkable
thinking like how can they get to, how can they commute to mass transit without having to drive through like every light in town, right? That's kind of would be helpful to achieve.
Yeah, so
Right,
I think from that standpoint, this property is maybe like.
This one you're talking about,
This.
yeah. This
Yeah,
one
the
is
most-
the least,
It's the
the
best.
advantage to this parcel is really only if the train comes in. And then, as you pointed out, Deb, it's proximity to Stoughton, but as I understand it, Stoughton's train station and the parking is challenged every day unless something's changed and maybe.
Well, I mean, if they all rode bikes to work like you do, there wouldn't be a problem. They'd have plenty of parking.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm all for
Okay,
that.
yeah. I know,
I'm
but
I'm
yeah,
all
it's
for that.
still close to park, yeah.
You really need public transportation to make this really acceptable.
Right, to make it truly like that, however, you can still, you know, you can improve the, you can still make it a better place to live if it's closer to, even if you have to drive. Because that's another thing I think about when people, and this is kind of a sidestep, but if you think about doing a 40B project out in a very rural area, and usually the homes are being sold at 80% AMI. So generally you'd think that people would have enough funds to drive to work and stuff. But if you're thinking about multifamily zoning and you're thinking that some, maybe your affordability level is a little bit lower, you want people near, areas near to where they work, where they shop, where they play, so that they're spending less on just the cost of living. So anyway, I was going to look at something.
I looked at it. It is the one in the back's pretty big, but you haven't looked at it yet, so we don't have to look at it right now. That's okay. I was just.
118.
Yeah.
It's for MBTA, right?
So what would you like us to?
I'm sorry, Peter, someone is talking, but we can't hear them.
Oh, well, now that we're all quiet, no one's talking. Is it okay now?
Yeah, whoever it was talking.
No, I just had some static, actually. That's all I had. So what would you like us, we've looked at these now. So what would you like us to decide if we're going to decide on?
So it sounds like, it sounds like the board is really interested in Foundry Eastman Street, interested in the Belmont Washington. And then, am I correct that Washington, Maine, is that kind of the?
No, please don't do that one. So I'll just never vote for it, so probably not a good one.
I mean, again, I like Deb's idea of evaluating each of them. And
Oh, well, if we want to, I mean, does it cost more? Or is it just take longer for them to do them all? I mean, I'm not against.
well, I think we just leave, so here's what I was thinking,
I mean,
Peter.
like if the group, if the group of the selectmen, et cetera, decided on these locations, and then we should.
Well,
right. I mean, we're not going to just say, oh well, nope. The four of us decided that you're a big group. I had a bad idea, so we're not going to spend any time on it. I'm not saying that. So if that's how we got to where we are, anyways, then I guess we should at least put the necessary work in to really get decide what's the right decision.
So here's what I'm suggesting, and I think the board's doing that. In like the first step is doing that by this conversation tonight. So I think we probably have enough information for each of the districts. We've run it through the model with very baseline conservative estimates on what the zoning would look like, what the restrictive parts of the zoning are. So what I'm hearing is we go back with Boundary Eastman and maybe have them run the model again with adding, instead of looking at just 3 stories, we do 4 stories. And
Okay, yeah. Can you
take
do, like,
out
just the north, like we talked about.
just the north.
Yeah, good.
And I think that was there one other?
I don't think we went higher on any of the other sections.
I think that was it. And then Belmont Street. I don't know that we need to run that again. We weren't going to you weren't going to subtract anything, right, from Belmont?
Oh, right. No, I see. You only have to run it if you were making a change or something.
Right, because we have the other information.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And then what about Depot Foundry? And I think Depot Foundry, did you want to?
Oh, you want us? Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I was keeping. That's why I was keeping the list simple. But yeah, I mean, now we have to pick and choose because now we have to go back to. I think this is what I think. I think if it's not going to hold up that much, if we're really going to run all these, like the rest, we have to spend some time like looking at this ourselves and look at the rest of them, and think about ideas like, do we really want to include all those? I don't know if this is the best. Unless you want to do it right now, we could spend another hour. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to spend an hour and pick and choose every lot for all these locations tonight?
I mean, what's the time constraint? I thought we had like a year before we had to get all this done.
Oh, no, this has to be passed at town meeting 2024.
2024, right? So, all right.
Right.
I mean, 2024, we're in 23. So we have just about, I'm going to say 9 months because it takes 3 months to get everything prepared for town meeting.
Right. So what are the action items that we need tonight? I mean, my rough calculations, I felt like if we went with Belmont and north of Eastman, that we'd get awfully close to the numbers that we were looking for. And then I was certainly very interested when Wayne talked about the idea of potentially incentivizing some commercial use by maybe at that point adding, some extra height or some extra density or something like that in exchange for commercial development or mixed use development in those areas.
Or in a different area. Are there areas that are outside of your Eastman and outside of Belmont, Washington, that it might be helpful to incentivize redevelopment with mixed use for greater density?
I think what we were talking about at the beginning was that, at least my opinion is that we're not going to go like way more than we need to do to comply with the new state rules. That's what I say, and that's what I'm going to vote for. So, I'm 1 out of 4 here.
So if I could wrap it up, I think this is what I took away from tonight is to, again, focusing on Foundry Street Eastman, run the compliance model again, just for the parcels on the north side, and then just confirm it. We'll go up to 4 stories because I think that should make up for the loss of your properties on the south side. And that's what we want to see. I don't think there were really any changes to Belmont Street that we needed to run it through the model again.
No, I like your idea of excluding IBC. We could always, like, if a good idea ever came up and IBC decided to move somewhere else anyways, then we could just redo the zoning at the next town meeting and accommodate whatever we thought was a good use for that spot, right? So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, so that if you added it, I mean, the question would just be, what would that density be? Right now that is, the capacity for that is 17.1 units per acre, 298 units in total.
I mean, yeah.
So
So Do the board
think
members
for the-
want to kind of focus on those two and have these kind of in our pocket as options to talk about, or put more effort into fine tuning if we need to?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
I like that.
And I'm not overwhelmed either, because we're not gonna, I mean, unless like one of the other board members said, and I don't understand you right, I mean, I'm not gonna try to do zoning to increase density in every one of these spots, or even like 4 out of 6 or anything. So if that's a direction anyone else wants to go, and please make that known.
So,
Oh, but
so if we do that for the next meeting, we have that information. You always have these, we already know, have a very good idea of what the capacity is for those other districts. So if, as you continue to have some discussion, you decide, well, maybe we do want to try a density bonus for commercial in one of the other areas, we can contemplate that and look at that. We know what the base number is. I think that would work.
Yeah, we can really
And
think
then-
we can think about like Belmont, even though Belmont's small, we can still think how that was Queeset Commercial District, right? So how can we kind of work that into that and still fulfill all the requirements and promote a little more housing, but also the commercial aspect. So,
well, and then that's what we start looking at, is looking at what does the zoning itself look like in each of those districts, so that again you're continuing to meet the numbers that we've projected.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Thank you for getting all ready, and Wayne, thanks for you had some thanks, especially for the comments about like the the economic the business commercial.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Component that will make this a little more interesting for us at least. So you guys ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see any meeting minutes, so maybe they were in the packet, but
I didn't realize we didn't have those yet. They
Yeah.
are there. Did you see them in the?
oh, there they are. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is not on the agenda. We'll just.
Oh,
I think it's,
there is one other important piece of
oh, that's
business.
right. Yeah. Well, we have board business, right? Yeah. So.
Yep.
I think we need to reorganize. Do we reorganize all the boards, or just the planning board and chair for now? And then we do all the boards like it is June.
So you can do the representative appointments at the next meeting, because.
Yeah, let's do that. I think we've got
I'll switch over in July.
had a productive
But I
meeting
do-
here.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board whether you want to vote on a new chair and clerk tonight.
Yeah, well, I think we need a chair, and I'm just the vice chair, filling in today as I did last meeting because the chair resigned last meeting. So
I'd like to make a motion to
Robert
nominate
Spencer, right?
Mr.
He's going to say something right now. Yeah.
I'd like
I love the way he
to
talked over
nominate
you, Bob.
Mr. Deshane as chair. Stetson.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Amas? Give us a thumbs up. This is a little more than a regular, like I approve those minutes. All right. Okay, good. All right, Deborah,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Shane, aye. Okay, motion passes. Then in that case, I will nominate
Oh, can
Robert
I,
Stetson as vice chair / clerk.
We need to second that, Peter.
I think so. I just made a motion.
yes,
I will second it.
Oh, thanks. All in favor? Stetson,
Aye.
Amos. Deborah,
Aye.
okay. Do you guys want to, should we do it? Do you want to just talk quickly about who wants to do like CPA? That's the big one. We'll talk about capital planning at the next one, but well, think if you want to do CPA and then we'll decide next time. How's that sound? Deborah Ramos. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
All right. Anyone like to make a motion to resign?
Resign or?
Resign?
It was a joke. That was a joke.
We're all making a motion
Okay,
to
wait a
resign.
minute,
Then
wait a
how
minute.
about a motion to
no.
adjourn?
But Mr. Chair, if I may, before you
Yeah.
do that, because
Oh.
Suzanne will have my head, if
Mhm.
I don't remind you that there is a Board of Appeals. Yeah,
Oh, is it on there?
and you're up, there is.
And there's two
Well,
sets of minutes.
we're all ready to resign slash, well,
Adjourn.
adjourn.
I
So-
actually need to
And-
adjourn right now,
Okay.
but I don't,
To adjourn.
Yes. Then please adjourn yourself. Have a good night.
all right, I apologize.
Cool. Yeah, bye.
All right, thank you, bye.
All right, guys. So it's
You
a
have that? Oh, here it is.
24 Quanticket. And
Let's see, I think we might have, I'm going to allow Suzanne to speak for a minute. Does the board have time to review this at the meeting on the 26th?
Yes.
Why don't-
Yeah, because it will be on for the 18th, I believe,
Of July, right?
of July, yep. I believe so.
Okay, do you want to continue that one, Mr.
That's
Chair?
fine. But what about the
that's
minutes?
Okay with me. We're gonna try to run these meetings faster now, because I suppose we don't talk as much as the last guy did. But it didn't work out tonight, guys.
This wasn't
But
really-
thank you for coming in anyway. So may we
But,
adjourn you?
Peter, I just want to do a really quick update.
Mhm.
Lot 11 Weber Farm. They are moving forward with completing the building the way it was intended to be. As
Oh, great.
but- So
That was already reported.
the lot 11 where
Well, someone
they.
had like the pressure treated like deck and stuff when all the other places had the nice decks. It was affordable unit that just
Okay.
was built to a different standard than the other units in that subdivision. Well, that's nice to hear.
Are you all going to do the minutes as well or no?
Wayne, you are an invited guest.
Yeah.
All right, bye. Trying to back up Suzanne. She did ask.
I've only, yeah, oh, I got you. Yeah, now we'll do the next time. We'll just
Okay, so now we'll have three though, because we have two here, we'll have three next time, but we can do that.
oh, 3. Is that allowed? Well,
Yes.
Does
Yeah,
someone want
I mean, we
does somebody
really
want to
should
approve the
do that.
minutes? Or shall we move on? Someone say, make a motion to either approve minutes or to adjourn.
To approve the meetings. Minutes.
Second, Stetson.
Yep. All in favor? Amos.
Aye.
Stetson.
Hi.
DeShane, aye.
That's my dog.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor? Amos?
second. Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
DeShane, aye. Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
Didn't hear what they said.
Suzanne, they approved the minutes
Approved the
and
minutes.
then they adjourned.